Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow, where dancers cavort in forbidden operas, making love to forgetting and flame, where the wealthy play at war with silver swords and silken sashes, where the people mine the dead heart of a burning star for cannonballs and pipework, and where 1,000 secrets hide in a forest of paper and ink. Here, the 5 keybearers reside, the 5 who know the secrets of the broken gates of death. 5 only. There is no 6th spire, forlorn and forgotten in the desert. There is no one who looks to the displaced, the poor and destitute and landless, whose ancestry has been stripped from them by foreign looms and foreign sparkcraft, and no one has ever heard of the House of Endings. But this is their story. Their roots pulled up and burned, they stand in filth up to their necks, and that is precisely why they must keep their heads ever high. Welcome to Uduasha, immigrant. May it fear the name of the house you will build. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about characters with their identities in peril, played by an international cast devoted to fiction-first gaming, collaborative world-building, and complex character drama. So, welcome back to Desperate Attune and this very, very last session as we look back on the campaign after last week's final score. We are taking a look at what we've done, and then we are weaving a little bit of an epilogue, and then we are concluding Season 2, the House of Endings. Been fantastic to have you here with us for this actual play. I don't know.
We actually played it.
As opposed to unactual.
Yeah, we actually played it. Yeah,
guys, we did it.
Work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We actually played it. And we hope you've enjoyed listening and that you will enjoy listening to this final retrospective and epilogue in which we kind of sum up the campaign. It's good practice. You should do it in your campaigns too. It's always nice to look back at things when they have concluded. We've played 31 sessions, I believe, making this the 32th. And
that is big, strong tooth energy.
Yes, big, strong tooth energy. Exactly. And so it's been a wild ride. We have been playing for quite a lot of time, and we're gonna go through what we have loved about this campaign and our characters who have been with us and who have been with you too if you've been listening for many episodes. So, without further ado, let's once more introduce ourselves and go through what we liked. I'm not going to stick too hard to going through it in order. This will be a discussion and a conversation, and I'll be facilitating even less than I usually facilitate these games. So, hello to Klow, because it rhymes with hello.
Hello, Prince. I'm very happy to be here. It's an honor to be with you here in this finale. I would like to thank God and my family.
Okay, yes.
Coming on a bit strong there.
Yeah.
How good?
I was going to say.
We're not exactly in the Oscars at the moment.
Uh-huh.
No, I didn't mention the Oscars. I mentioned the finale. Please pay attention to what I said. Should I say it again?
Yes. No.
Okay.
Attention has been paid.
Yeah.
We have all been duly charged. Aadiyat.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
That's
have
the all
nobody
you're getting
to
from me. Huh?
a short and succinct introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Hello also to Salty.
Hello. I'd like to thank absolutely nobody, not even myself.
Yeah. Ingratitude is the vibe. Excellent.
Yeah, I don't have enough words for this acknowledgement section.
Yep. Very good. And hello Tree.
Hello. I would like to thank no one, because that's who appreciated Sticks as much as I did.
I have to say, the way you opened up hello, I thought you were going to say, I would like to order 1 chicken biryani.
I do a pizza, half pepperoni, other half pineapple.
And then,
order of mozzarella sticks. A Coke? No, sorry, Dr. Pepper. No, RC Coke there.
Indeed.
Okay, and Well, lastly, we do not unfortunately have Emma with us, but I am pouring out my tea for Emma.
Yeah, Dr.
Um,
Pepper.
Yes. Who is greatly missed and who was with us for the first half of this campaign. So we will be talking a little bit also about Emma and Moss on the Rung That Breaks Your Ankle, the character who was with us for the start of the House of Endings and of course for all of season 1, Candle Blaze. And so that's everyone. And we have also, of course, had some player characters. So let's talk about our player characters and their development. Who wants to start?
Hello, I played Bidrohi, a very nice boy.
Good.
Is that what you
I
wanted?
played.
I don't know.
No, I was
I
thinking
played
the
Saida.
PC development arcs, but yeah, it just felt like a natural place to start.
Okay.
Indeed.
Sorry, you played Saida.
I played Saida, a metaphysical conundrum, and then I played Sri on Ketheris, a meta-ontological physiognomy.
Yes.
I don't actually know
Yes.
what the word physiognomy means, but I decided that that's the word that I was going to use.
You didn't know the physiognomy of the word physiognomy. I get it.
Correct. Oh, is the G silent? That's good to know.
Yeah, it's because the word is derived from gnome, so it's a physio gnome.
You know, Prince, that makes so much sense. I'm so glad that you clarified that. Great, fantastic.
So, something about character arcs.
It was a logical place to start. I
Yeah,
figured.
let's go. Who should speak first? Should we just start talking?
I nominate Aadiyat.
Yes. Thank you for. I'm just glad to be nominated. You know.
Yeah, I did.
So character arcs.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, my favorite character arc was Bidrohi's. And yeah, yes. And
please continue.
Yes, to expand on that, it was I think even from early on in the campaign, we saw that beneath the veneer of Bidrohiness, there were hidden depths there, and I think as the campaign progressed, Bidrohi really went from I like how he went from being kind of like this showboaty, duelist to then coming to terms with the reality of his situation and the violence that he must inflict or receive, and then to becoming sort of from being simply a loudmouth to being the loudmouth of the community. That's the best way to put it, I think, Bidrohi's character arc.
I think there was also there was a maturity there was a maturity in the sense of responsibility, which I really enjoyed. I think that was very cool.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good coming of age sort of story.
Yeah, and I'll also say that Zoheb plays both sides of Bidrohi very well, and without it feeling like the first times Bidrohi went from I can't do the voice, but you know the voice, to suddenly talking in a serious tone to something, but the transition was very natural. It felt like it's on, because I think there was a risk of it sounding like these are just two different characters, but I think you felt like no, this is the same person, just in a different headspace.
And yeah, I like that. I also enjoy Bidrohi's subtle code switching as these personalities change. Yeah, it's very good. And I agree. I also had written down this growth from particularly Bidrohi switching playbooks. Right, is an interesting representation of this change, going from the duelist to the politician playbook. That's
and that's one of the reasons why I think we saw Bidrohi also go to prison, and I think sure, like you could see it as like he thinks prison is cool, but like he saw it as a sacrifice that he was making that he thought was worth making, which I think was very interesting.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I enjoyed that coming of arc thing, and it's a long story arc. It spans the entire campaign. I don't remember when the playbook switch happened now formally. I think that happened when you hit tier 2. But
Also around them,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was when you hit tier 2 and got your new lair courtesy of House Anserek.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's in the one that I just released, just edited and released around the time. Right?
Yeah.
Like at the time of recording.
Yeah.
So episodes 40 something.
Yep. So that was an interesting change in development. I agree.
Well, as I said, I thank God and my family.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Very cool.
To my ex-wife, I leave chlamydia, but she already knows that it's all dealt with. Yes, indeed.
Chlamydia.
Klow, do you want to continue then with your highlighted PC development?
Yes, I shall. Highlighted PCs. I think for me, like I'll also pick sort of like a campaign running arc, which is Saida's arc of coming in, refusing to explain, leaves, that sort of vibe. But then the sort of thing that like she's refusing to explain requires explanation, right, of some sort, and this idea of creating a god. Tree, when you first said that you're going to make your own god, I thought like, okay, so you're going to kind of like bring something back into reality that was forgotten or something. But this strange sort of like double think sort of thing, like this isn't real, and it's not even like I'm going to wish it into being real, because it was also at the same time forgotten and unreal at the same time. This kind of like essentially giving up logic, right? And like not conforming to any sort of like it's not like Terry Pratchett sort of idea, like belief creates reality or whatever, right? It's just like you say it and then you make it happen, but it also exists, and then just like you just go with it. And I think the counters of that, like getting our characters into the headspace of like learning about it and just seeing it slowly over time kind of like build and see the costs of this endeavor. And I think like the final closing of Saida's arc, which happened a few sessions before the finale, right? Of like that finally happening, like that took us a little bit by surprise, because we knew it was going to happen, but I don't think any of us really expected Saida would be gone so quickly. And I think, which is fascinating, because like we knew, right? We knew intellectually, like we had a prophecy about this, right? And yet,
it was established pretty early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it snuck up on us nicely. So I think like that entire arc with Saida, and kind of like seeing her still grow, because I think this is a problem. I think like a danger potentially with like really mature old characters, that like they are complete. But I think we saw Saida learn also, irascible as she was. Yeah, great character.
I think one of the things I liked is I realized that Saida was quite dismissive in a very auntie way, in a very like understandable, like real way to basically everybody else. And then I think at some point when Bidrohi said, will you be my ustad? I was like, okay, it works if she's an auntie. It doesn't work if they're a teacher, right? And that was one of the reasons that I was like, okay, then they're gonna learn to change now. Not that I think they necessarily changed very much. They were, after all, quite rigid in their preferences, but they did end up accepting, I think, that you can't just be a cunt to everybody around you, even if that's what you want to be. And I think that's actually why by the time we got to Sri, and Sri was like, oh, the body, and those were the things that Saida never said. never felt it was important to say or necessary to say, right? And I've been around a lot of people who are like, of course, why do you need me to say I love you? Of course I love you. That's like, I mean, why would you need that from me, right? And I think Saida was, to some extent, from that same school of thought, but Sri was not. So they were just like, yeah, obviously, yeah, that's what the body wants me to do, and so therefore that's what I'm doing, right? So I think that was very different, and it was interesting. And of course, divinity being outside of logic is something that, like, you know, I enjoy thinking about. I think it's funny and interesting. Man, that last scene where you took over, as in you, Zoheb, took over the divinity stuff. That was great for me because I was like, now I get to be on the other side of this, right? I get to be like, what is going on? And that was very funny. That was just like A+. I love that. What are you gonna say? Are you gonna get us all in trouble? I don't know, right? That was good.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely an interesting thing because, like, it's like the ideas of divinity and so on. Like, we have talked about these things. Like, these are themes that I'm interested in. So it was interesting to kind of like see your character like living them out, as it were, and then trying to figure out diegetically, both in and out of character, how to kind of like both understand how you're interpreting your ideas through Saida, and then figuring out how do I then, as Zoheb, understand what Saida is saying, and then how do I have Bidri respond to that in a way that's productive for us to move forward. And I think like we had some clashes and some like not false starts, but like we had some friction there, which I think was overall productive, because I think like that let the audience, well, potentially, I mean, the audience can let us know, but I imagine ideally that the audience then had like a kind of like some handholds or like, you know, rungs on the ladder to kind of like, because as we are talking it through and like see, because if it'd be one thing if like it was instantly clear to me and Bidri what was going on, then I think the audience would be like, huh, okay,
yeah,
I guess. But I think the confusion helped us kind of like see that arc played out.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Understand it.
Yeah. I'm interested to know how this having ended, and I've spoken about this before, that like it was, I always wanted to do a thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing an entire arc, guys. Like it's like beginning to end, whatever. I'm interested to know like what it seemed like to everybody else as well. Though we don't have to like talk about it immediately. I just find that like, what is it? I have never done it, but I've also actually never really been on the other side of it either, right? So, but yeah, Saida, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. Do you want to go next, Tree? Talk about what's on your list of things, or of PCs.
I thought I said Bidrohi. Do I have it? Did I? No, I nominated Aadiyat. Yes, correct.
Yeah. And then Aadiyat maybe said what you were going to say, but
well, yes. In that case, I know she is not here, and I am very tempted to like write this out to her and demand a response. And then you can edit out that I intend to do this.
She's at a LARP.
Yes, I mean, you know, she will not have been at a LARP between now and the release of this episode. Anyway, I really enjoyed Moss. One of the things I really enjoyed about Moss is that Emma, unlike the other players, did not have any lived background of being in South Asia. And yet Moss felt absolutely like she was Bidrohi and Moonlit and Saida's family. And then what that meant changed in what felt like a very natural way. And that was very like, I don't think it would have been or can have been easy to do. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. and I think that it's incredibly tough to play family, as we know now, like over 2 seasons even, and yet,
Yeah.
you know, like I think Moss really like demonstrated that, and then she became a canary, and I'm not gonna lie, becoming a canary is incredible. I love that. I love that that's a thing that happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, I really liked that we managed to overlap Moss and Clem. Like that we managed
Yes.
to get all 5 of us to do that sort of handover. That we introduced Clem while Moss was still in the campaign, so it didn't feel like as jarring if we had just been like, "Goodbye, Moss, welcome, Clem." But we had this
Yeah.
like overlap between them. They had some interactions between them, particularly around the whole Posifixes arc.
Oh man, yeah. Oh man.
Um,
Sorry, like an incredible moment. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
yeah, I enjoyed that very much. And so I think it was nice how we sort of wound down Moss's arc as we wound up Clem's arc. And speaking of which, Clem's development throughout the course of the campaign, speaking of like, I think it was an excellent job of coming into an ongoing campaign, which is already difficult, and then a campaign that has this like tight-knit family thing, and then becoming part of it in a way that felt natural. That's not like, I am your long lost cousin, I am also family, but actually like it leaned a little bit into the found family bit of Clem having like gone from cause to cause and then finding a cause with the Kethrisi and becoming part of it. And I really liked that development, like speaking of how difficult it is to play family, right? How Clem came in as a relative stranger, and there was some awkwardness early on, but then pretty quickly. What's interesting is I think that Clem's character arc mimics this going from being a family story to the story about a cause, right? Like,
Yeah.
Clem came in and sort of naturally made this, or like played along with this becoming the story of Kethris and not of the Sword School.
Yeah, and I
Right.
also liked that Clem made us have to deal with that. It wasn't just, oh yeah, we're all a little family from a little village, and that's why we are here, right?
Yeah.
And I think I really liked that Clem turned up and forced us to accept that like there's more going on, and we need to meaningfully struggle with that, even if the person in question is happy to assimilate or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think Clem was like very happy to be like, yeah, I will join your sword school, I will be part of your cause, all this stuff. And yet seeing Bidrohi and Clem kind of be like, we're gonna actively try and be friends. What does this mean? That was very interesting.
It was
right?
very, very funny. Clem's and Peter's awkward friendship. Was,
Yeah, like, there's a big age gap, there's a big culture gap, there's all of these things, and yeah, that was I found that like fascinating. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was really great. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting parallel, and it sort of naturally made the scope bigger when Clem entered, and I thought that was really interesting. So that was a cool character and development arc for me too. And I also like how, despite that we established Clem's backstory in a game of Microscope, Clem anyway wound up a little bit of like their backstory ended up being developed and unfolding as the campaign went along, with like the marriage to Tamira and the relationship with Aaron and all of that unfolding sort of backwards was really lovely. It was a very, very smooth integration of a character in the campaign where we sort of got to see bits and bobs of who Clem is over the course of it. So I enjoyed that a lot.
I found Clem really interesting from a perspective of like, again, now thinking much, because we talked about family, but now I'm going to think about politics, right? Where the history of revolutions, of like people's uprisings and so on.
Yeah.
Even though it gets narrativized as like the struggle of the people, there have always been allies. There have always been like foreign volunteers and so on, right? And like the ways in which these people, I mean, I have no insight into how these people think, right? But it was interesting to kind of like see such a character kind of like being played. And kind of like seeing like a possible sort of like negotiation of like past traumas, past complicities, a past that isn't forgotten, and also just like the temptations that are put forward of like going back and forth of like not what is my allegiance really and so on. I thought so in a sense like I really like Clem as like a character who is kind of good despite herself or achieves goodness, whatever that means, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
Clem is
Clement
also
Mushfiq
like,
found love.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Clem and Mushik finding love is great. And that's also interesting how they were in some ways like very similar characters actually, despite their very different backgrounds. Like with Bidrihi, you have the whole like age gap and culture gap and whatnot. But with Clem and Mushfiq, you had the culture gap, but other than that, they were people who kind of understood each other on a lot on a lot of levels, which I thought was delightful also.
I think implicitly as well, right? Like there wasn't a whole lot said, but I think there was just like a mutual
Yeah.
recognition. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, they're at least catty characters, right? Like Bidruhi and Saeed are the big talkers,
Yeah.
and so I like that
Yeah.
Mushfiq and Clem's relationship was much more based in actions. They do things together. They don't really talk all that much.
Mm.
That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
I think
Talking
what I
spinners.
enjoyed, with their relationship was that, I mean, Aadiyat and I have never played together before, but we still decided what we're doing. Like in that very first score together is like, yeah, we're going to wreck Cherubino. We don't care about. Yeah, UK to Canada communication instantaneous. We know what we're doing. Yeah, yeah. That was nice. It was playing two very similar but different characters
Yeah,
was fantastic.
I also liked Clem and Aaron slowly unfolding, right? Us like hinting at what that relationship could have been and then discovering what it was, right? That was, and it was tricky, but it was really interesting. He was quite a guy. He was a person of all time, you know.
yeah.
I still don't know what his deal was. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
What was he
Yeah.
up to? What was
Maybe-
going on there?
Maybe we'll see, maybe we won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Some stories will be left untold. Salty, do you want to introduce any more highlights?
Yeah, and I suppose my highlighted PC's development was certainly Mushfiq, specifically working through that trauma removal of a trauma clock.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that was really revealing how long it took us to do that. I think because it
True.
took us maybe 4 or 5 downtimes to do. And it took us from the city out into the Deathlands, back into the city. And then it was after that, it was before that score with Jasper that we finally cleared it. And yeah, I think that was just a beautiful piece of development. And the fact that Zahir was the one to have helped to have helped start the clock as well with the first action and then help finish it as well. And each of the PCs kind of contributed to it in their way.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I really like. I mean, I know it's not a character, but I like the little campfire scene that we had in the desert where everyone's trying to make Bushwick feel better.
And it didn't
That's a
work.
great set of
Yes.
scenes. And then he really showed that, like, it's not so easy. You can't just be like, hey, man, why aren't you happy? Why didn't you just try being happy, man? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's necessarily what we were doing, but it had the kind of energy where all of you know we need to help, but none of us are necessarily trained in helping, so we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It really did feel like we were fighting Mushfiq in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, it was
Yeah.
like a boss
Yeah.
battle,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which
And
I think
then
is a
this
good.
the fact that
This
the
is
trauma was cleared
emblematic in some
having
ways.
brunch
Yeah.
with the boys.
Yeah.
Boy brunch cleared the
Mhm.
trauma.
Boy
So we
brunch.
could have just been doing
With
boy
brunch
brunch the whole
cocktails.
time.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed that Mushfiq also had quite a difficult time getting to his ustad, and then upon meeting him was like, what have you become? And then just shot
Yeah,
him.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like
dueling philosophically and with the sword at the same time, incredible.
yeah,
In front of
Yeah.
children.
Yeah, that was
Like,
great.
that was a lot, and I think it was very like that's what would happen. You know, stress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy Prince, that you decided, oh fuck it, Shahed's not dead, but he may as well
Mm.
be. Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
gorgeous.
the clock of him dying did run out, right? So
Yeah.
this is how I interpret it. And I liked how the prophecy in that sense technically came true, because Mushfiq encountered the prophecy that like Gurban the camel will kill your Ustad, or like will lead to his death. And it turned out that he did this by delivering him to people who irrevocably changed him, right? So it was.
Yeah.
I'm pleased with how that prophecy kind of came true in the ironic way that prophecies do, right?
Yeah. Mm.
It's like by saving his life, which Gurban the camel did, he also sort of ended who he was as a person. So
I think it's good that the Prince of Endings was not there when this occurred, because he would have been like, "Excuse me, this is exactly what is supposed to happen.
Yes.
Why are you shooting him?"
yeah.
So, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I guess that with the Ustad transitions us nicely into talking about NPCs.
Mm.
I think we should go back around. So, Salty, you go first.
Okay, so I have 2 because I'm special. Because I get 2. I've got 2 hands that go.
Yeah.
I can have 2 NPCs to hold.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
both women, but of course.
Lovely.
I
That's fine.
think my first one is because I'm selfish. It's my NPC. It's Tamira, my beloved.
Yeah.
If Tamira has 10 fans, I'm one of them. If Tamira has 1 fan,
That's
it's
one
me.
fan.
If
Yeah.
if Tamira has no fans, I'm dead. If Tamira's against the world, I'm against the world.
Uh-huh.
It was just great fun seeing how much fun you were having, Prince, with playing her. It's just so fun
Yes.
to be awful in all of the correct ways. She's wonderful in all of the wrong ways as well. And
Yes.
how Clem has been indelibly marked by her and changed.
Mm.
Of cinema.
Yes. Yes.
Also, it brought forward Safety Saida and putting Saida in the cup chair.
Yes. I do love how you stuck with having a safety Saida for virtually all of your interactions afterwards when you discovered that like Saida is immune to Tamira's bullshit. Now I must never meet her without Saida. You did bring in a safety Mushfiq at the end also, but yes.
Yeah.
Safety Mushfiq turned out to have a different strategy, which is fuck off.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and getting what you want by bending Tamira over the desk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sorted.
I also feel like
Mhm.
it's incredible because it does seem to me that Saida may have dated someone like Tamira in the past, and that is why they knew exactly what to do and what not to do. But it's also possible that they haven't, and it's just that Saida saw Tamira and was like, "Oh, this person is full of shit, huh?" Like anything is possible here, right?
Game recognized game.
Game recognized game, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It may be a lesson about listening to your elder queers. I don't know.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I should be sad or thankful that there wasn't a Bidrohi Tamira scene.
How would
Oh
that have
yeah,
turned
true.
out?
Bidrohi never met Tamira. Yeah,
Oh.
that is
I
true.
want to know
That's
how that would
actually
have
really
turned
interesting.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think it might have been interesting, to be honest.
it would have.
I think, like,
But I also
yeah.
think it's interesting that it didn't happen. It is a
Yeah.
scene that might be even better as a hypothetical, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Who is in your other hand, Salty?
Mumtaz,
Nice.
the other woman.
Lovely. Mm.
Just she's how
His
she
hands, they're big.
started out.
Mm.
How she started out as, I think she was the result of a devil's bargain, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. She was just a random thief as a devil's pardon.
And
Yeah.
she just ended up so realistic and being a player character in a different Blades game,
Yeah.
right?
No,
As
that's
somebody
true.
who was completely terrified of her real identity and origins, and then we see her because of Bidri's actions changing because of him
Mm-hmm.
and deepening, and then getting absolutely exposed by a last devil's bargain as well.
I was going to say I was going to say I have that effect on women until you said that last bit. Then I don't want to claim this.
You don't
I hadn't
expose
thought
women.
of that actually, but there's some beautiful bookends to Mumtaz's identity being introduced by a devil's bargain and undone by a devil's bargain at the end.
Yes.
That's
Yeah, and she
Really?
kind of has nothing now because they
Mm.
broke up. Her actress identity's gone. Yeah.
Ixis no longer sponsors her.
This is why we
Um,
need to have an
Yeah.
epilogue.
Yeah.
Mm.
Whereas you
getting
think you think it's going to be like, oh, too bad, bye.
Yes.
Mm.
yeah.
We'll see what you have planned. But yes, these
Mhm.
are lovely NPCs. I enjoyed them very much. Both Tamira and Mumtaz, great people, great supporting women's wrongs territory.
I'm a feminist. Can't believe that you're not, because I believe that Tamira did nothing wrong, actually.
No, I can
Believe
accept that
women,
she did
especially
wrong
when they
thing.
gaslight PCs.
Yes.
What do you mean believe women?
believe
If you
she did
believe
wrong
women, then you be
things.
like, yes, Tamira's bad.
And I support them wholeheartedly, especially
Yes.
because they're happening to my PC.
Tamira just
I get
telling
to
you,
clap my
I'm a piece of
hands.
shit.
Yeah.
Yes, and I love you because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah,
it more.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I can't fix her, and it's perfect.
Mhm.
She can make me worse.
Yes.
She can make
Yes.
me worse,
Exactly.
yes, yeah.
She can make me worse. That's very much Tamira's energy.
Mm.
Mm.
Very good. I think
Yeah.
you're next, Prince, on the go around.
Oh.
Whee!
Okay. Well, then I will highlight. I know I have plenty of NPCs I could talk about all day, but I will highlight one of the NPCs that you introduced, Tree, and that I just had such a blast playing, and it's Munna. I just loved this guy coming in towards the end of the campaign and doing the dishes with Vidrihi and casually being like, by the way, I would like to overthrow all organized crime in the city again. I have done this before. I would like to do it again. Yes, I'm cool with doing the dishes with you as part of that. Here are some disguises for you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
It's
Yeah,
just such
absolutely.
an everyman.
Do you
At
think
least
he would
he's
have
doing the
enjoyed?
dishes.
Yeah. Do you think he would have enjoyed what was done with the uniforms at the end?
Probably, yeah. It
Mm.
sounds like
I think
he
you
would have
find
found
it
it very
funny.
amusing. Yeah.
I bet
Yeah.
he knows the secret shortcut to Hassan's.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Munna knows all the secret shortcuts. And this guy having... Yeah, we also had the scene, like, when he had dinner with Bidruhi, which I also very much enjoyed. And... I don't know, I just love Munna's energy of being this, like, incredibly badass crime boss, but just so, like, humble and down to earth, and just being like, yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It's...
Yeah.
I'm just hanging out energy he has all the time.
I just think that, like, we are so inundated with superheroes and, like, oh yeah, the big villain who, like, and, like, it's nice to remember sometimes that evil comes in loads of forms, and so does good. And I'm not even necessarily morally judging Munna right now, but I am saying that, like, some people are just like, we deserve a fiction in which he's just a guy, and yet he is exactly what he seems like, which is very fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
Do
And
not
he had
fuck
a
with
nice...
this man.
Yeah. And he has a nice complexity to him, because in the first season, he was entirely a villain who was, like, trying to exploit both the Kethrisi and the PCs at the time. And then he comes back this time and he becomes sort of an ally to Kethrisi because I guess he's a pragmatist, you know? He's just, he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep him in power, and that's that.
Yeah, and, like, he seems to mostly want to be in power so he can go to Hassan's, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. I definitely didn't write him as a power hungry type. At least in my mind, I don't know if this is true for you, Prince, I was just like, he wants to be in power so he can do whatever he wants. But sometimes what he wants to do is eat a kebab. And just like there's no meaningful difference in his head between eating a kebab and taking over a bank.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly the sort of energy he had. I had so much fun playing him every time he was on screen. I was just enjoying being this character. So
I had a blast every time he was on screen, whoever he was talking to. And I don't think he ever spoke to one of my PCs, right? But it was incredible to watch. I loved it.
Yeah, 100%. One of the NPCs I had the most fun being this. And there were plenty of NPCs I enjoyed being, but I'm especially highlighting Munna here.
Yeah,
Season
absolutely.
17 of Desperate Attune, I run and I get to be Munna. It's my turn to be Munna. Mom, that's
yes.
what Mom said.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh. All right, Klow, who do you want to highlight now then? Since you can't highlight Munna, he's mine.
Okay. Well, no, Mom said it's my anyway. I am
Yeah.
highlighting Alkaderan Khatam, who
Mm.
started off as a joke and stayed a joke. But I think Alkader is a great like examination of like how, without like ruining the joke or kind of like deconstructing the joke or something, you can like explore quite a lot of like depth and pathos and so on of like what a person like that really can be, you know. And he stayed
Yeah.
like ridiculous and funny throughout, even as we like, you know, learned his tragic backstory with his brother and so on, and like why he's trying to be this person who's like a shadow of his brother, and he can never be his brother. And of course, like we're recording this in September, so the real life human being that Alkader is a parody of has been ousted from power, etc., etc. Fuck that guy. And in a sense, like that kind of like hangs over this as well to an extent, but in a way that like doesn't like retroactively make Alkader feel worse, you know. It's not like, oh no, we picked someone who has blood on their hands and made fun of him. This guy isn't funny, because Alkader like emerged as his own distinct character who is sympathetic. And I know like I kept like bringing him up because obviously I found him as a character amusing, and also it was always funny to just see like both Tree and Aadiyat being like, oh god, this guy again. And I enjoyed making them confront him over and over again. But I think like through that we got a lot of like really interesting like friction and character scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I should say that. Like.
Yes, I know you were, and I know you were being like, this guy again, haha. Yes, I know you were actually enjoying him.
Yeah, that was much me going out this guy again. While me was going, this guy again.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know that when Tree's like, you, I hate you, he doesn't hate us.
Yeah. I like this about Alkader too, and this was one of my goals, explicitly leaning into like from very early on with him. I knew I wanted him to be like he is a faker and a wannabe. He's a guy who has literally faked everything till he's made it, and who doesn't actually know what he's doing. But I also think that such people do exist in politics, right? Like people who have a heartfelt and genuinely held ideology, but who have no fucking clue how the world works, and just sort of wind up in power in part because of luck. And I think Alkader fits that vibe. He is aware that he is not his brother, but he also is hell-bent on trying to be his brother to the best of his ability. And it's ridiculous, but it's also kind of impressive in a way. Like he's very spirited, whatever else you want to say about Alkader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was an interesting space.
I think in regard to the real life person he's based on, the fact is also that, unfortunately, we have a terrible habit of humanizing and giving interiority to persons who, in real life, may not have that interiority. But I don't think we're interested necessarily in that kind of character. The reason I say this is many years ago. Is that actually true? No, years ago. Some years ago. 2 years ago. Zoheb and I were in a campaign of Spire, the City Must Fall, and there was a character in Spire whose name was Big. What was his name? Big Knight?
Big Minaret.
Big Minaret, that was his name. And Big Minaret was also much like Alkader, a parody of a person. And I was determined to give him some interiority. I was determined to be like, there is a reason he's like this. You can't just make fun of him. But then he continued being a cartoon. It's just that like then you see that like the cartoon does have something underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
Watch DuckTales, everyone. I think DuckTales is very good. The reboot, indeed.
I had like this entire monologue, by the way, of Bidrohi's friend Big Minaret.
Oh my god!
I had all the words like in my head, and I never had a moment to talk about my friend Big Minaret.
Oh,
I would have loved to meet. I mean, Big Minaret was a guy of all time. Not gonna lie. You can cut this out, but I think Salty would be interested to know that Big Minaret was a knight from a family of. I think the Drow have like a priest class, right? In
midwives.
Yeah, midwives, and then everybody he was related to was a midwife, and then he was the sad sack who couldn't be a midwife, and he
Wow,
was
so-
very sad about it. And I was just like,
Not-
man, yeah,
Not permitted to look after babies.
yeah,
Mhm.
you're not cool
No-
enough
not
to be,
an egger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
But-
I'm sorry,
God, yeah.
I've been watching too many of these main lobster catchers, and now I can only think of eggers,
Yeah.
which are the lobsters
regret
that
this.
have eggs.
Yes.
regret-
If they're eggers, they go back in the sea with a little snack, and their
What the
tails
hell
get
is-
clipped,
Have
so
you
you
been
know that they
watching?
breed.
This
Have
is
you been
like
watching the shorts of that guy who catches lobsters and gives them fish and
That's the exact guy I'm thinking
Yeah,
of. The
of
one who
course.
just
Oh my
like holds up a
God.
lobster to the camera and is like, "This is an egger."
Mhm.
This-
Yeah, that
this
is
So
an
they
egger.
can,
This
They
is
can
like a
have-
Russian doll of tangents, by the way.
yeah, they can have 10,000 eggs per pound, something like that. He was saying.
Mm,
Mm,
Yeah.
Oh
and,
my God,
yeah,
that's a lot of
lobsters,
eggs per
man.
pound.
We're
not
we're
gonna lie.
playing lobsters next season.
yeah. But only 5 of them will ever grow to be adults, if I remember, because they
Bullshit.
spend
We
their
should-
early life
we
just
should move
floating
on.
around. For more lobster-related facts, catch up with us after the epilogue.
Customization doesn't just count for evolution; it also counts for
We
podcasts.
should move on.
All podcasts become about crabs. We should move on. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Aadiyat, I think.
Is it?
No.
I would be the last if we're going back around.
But Tree gave up his spot to you, so
Oh.
that was actually your spot.
Okay, cool. Highlighted NPCs, huh? I'll come there. You know, what's there? You know, we've said all we want to say about Alcalder. I think I don't think I have anything more to add. Fantastic character. Always a pleasure to see him on screen, and also a pleasure to be annoyed at him in character. Other than that, I liked Omid. He didn't turn up as frequently, but I thought Prince played him very well. Like the few times he did show up. Also a good character. I thought to like a fun character to interact with. Who else? Aaron, I also liked. I also liked. I like that kind of. What's the right word for it? You know, that sort of like that friend who's like, you know, who's seen enough of your like who's like who's had enough of your shit, but is still a friend, right? You know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Also very well played by Prince. Fun to
Yes.
see. Fun to interact with. Yeah. Yeah. Those are my highlighted NPCs.
Nice.
Very good.
Yeah. I also liked Omid a lot.
And
He was
anything
another.
else? Are we moving on
Uh,
to? Are we?
Yeah. I think
Should I move on
Omid
to
was
another one of the-
also.
Can
another
you
one of the
hear us?
questions?
Hello.
Hello.
Aadiyat,
Or
can you
is
hear
there
us?
more highlighted
Aadiyat can't
NPCs
hear
that
us.
people want to share?
Aadiyat can't hear us.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't. Yes, you're right. I can't hear you. Hang on, let me leave
Yeah,
and
yeah.
come back.
So
So it should be your turn, no, Tree?
yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to butt in with the Omid thing that he was also one of those characters that I liked in that he was similar to Alcadar. He started out as, I mean, we literally introduced him as a vulture named Omid. He started out as kind of a shallow villain character, but then he also wound up getting some interiority. And I think he was an interesting case of, you know, his tragic backstory in no way excuses what he did. And he was in many ways a very mean-spirited and cynical and bad person. But I like that we still got some insight into like why he is this way. So
Yeah, and how that would never have happened because in session 2, Mishri could have killed him straight off.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that.
But the
it's
sexual
that
tension-
moment of- the
Mhm.
sexual tension, the dark mirror.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I liked Omid being held up as a little bit of an example of, you know, like the Kethris you left was also not perfect, right? Like the reason that
Yeah.
he didn't give a flying fuck about Kethris was that it never gave a flying fuck about him. So, yeah, I thought he was an interesting character in that way.
Sexual tension, but not sexual intention.
Mhm.
But I think that he's also similar to Alcadar in that sense as well, because Alcadar also had, like, you know, the glimpses of Alcadar's past we got also highlighted that Kethris of the past was not a perfect place. It was divided. There was, you know,
Yeah.
infighting, right?
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yep. Okay. Who's next?
It's me. The Pacifics, incredible.
Mm.
What a person of all time, you know? Like, what a genuinely upsetting person. Why did, when this thing died, why did Excess decide that its pus would be one of the things that exited it? I don't know. But just
That's just what happens to dead bodies.
Yeah.
sure, yeah. But like that being something, oh, awful, terrible, incredible. I every time the Passive Excess was on screen, I was like, this is incredible. I love her. A lot of the, like, I love Jake Clev. I loved Durtha and Diamond Tooth. I think all of the swords folk had very different like characteristics, and yet we're all like, yeah, we're gonna like murder you. Like, Jay Clev was we spent the entire season terrified of him, and then he ended up fighting off the Empire no problem, right?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed how scary he was all the way through.
Yeah. He was
That was
actually
really
one of
good.
the few people you could never defeat in combat, which I think is interesting too. Like, you fought him and it didn't work. In the end, it
just
was
didn't work.
Attune that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I really liked, what was Bidrohi's rival who was in love with him named? Jasper? Jackal!
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
I really liked Jackal. I thought Jackal was great. Like, it's really important to have that street level tough who really hates you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Favorite
I
Jackal
like.
moment for me was throwing a barrel at Clem.
Yes, absolutely.
Bonk.
Yeah.
Bonk, indeed. The shoe stuff, like,
Oh
what
yeah.
the fuck? You know, like, that was very good. I enjoyed
Yes.
that a lot.
Mhm.
Prince getting to have a Donkey Kong moment.
Yes. I
Yeah.
enjoyed my Donkey Kong moment.
Yeah. You just play Donkey Kong and you go, I wish I was the monkey. I wish I was the monkey. I don't care about this little jumping guy.
Yeah.
Monkey.
Monkey.
Get a princess.
Yes,
Mm.
indeed. Also, at the very end, Venkatesh and Nixus. Oh man, incredible. I know some of it was dictated by dice rolls as well, but the guy that like, yeah, okay, I'll be on your side now. It's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
That is so good. No wonder him and Munna like don't get on, right?
Yeah. Because they're too similar in some ways.
Exactly.
But,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
But
my
yeah, I
future
also-
concept, Munda says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like how we built him up for quite some time. It's like, yes, he's this incredibly skilled banker. Like, he out manipulates everyone, and then he out manipulated you. It was just like, yeah, it's fine.
He literally
This is-
did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was
Because,
great.
like,
I enjoyed that.
obviously, you could have just killed him. Like, you were in an office with him, and you were like an immortal vampire, and he's just a bank man.
He's
so,
a guy. Yeah.
But he made a very salient point, which is,
yeah.
do
And
you
he
have
said
a
he would just
degree
give
in
me the stuff.
accounting?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to go to university? No.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what a credit default swap is? Well, in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
case.
Yeah.
Have
He
you put
wields
that-
the.
Are the Kethrisi
Sorry.
funds in an ISA?
Oh no, I hope not.
In an icer, why does it need to be an ice?
It's because we're all about to be dead.
This is why you need Venkatesh.
Because if you take them out of the icer, it becomes liquid assets. Yes.
Oh my god. Oh my
Okay.
god.
My assets are not yet ready to be liquidated, sir.
Yeah. Shall we
We need to
talk
move
about
on.
some? Shall we talk
Yeah.
about some character scenes next? Like some
Yes.
interesting scenes we had between these PCs and NPCs and poignant moments.
Since I went last, I'm happy to go first again.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I I think that I mean there were a few great scenes, and I kind of said this earlier, but Moss and Saida saying goodbye to each other at the end was really good. I think Saida explaining themselves and trying their best to explain it and somehow just fucking failing. That was great. I really enjoyed Bidrohi kind of saying in so many words, "You're going to get us fucking killed." Right? That was a very important scene. And being like very that much like upfront about it. Right? That was great. And every scene with Clem and Aaron and Mushfiq all being awkward around each other, because Aaron has known Clem for long enough that he knows that Clem has a wife, and now this new guy's turned up, but yet I have a complicated relationship with Clementine. Oh, delicious. Why doesn't Clementine have 3 hands?
Oh, there's a guy in Golumpit who can help with that.
Who can help with
Yeah,
that?
maybe we should.
Mhm.
Yes, indeed.
Maybe Clem has someone in what was it, Sunfall? That's what that leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why they left Sunfall.
Absolutely.
Mm. Yeah, my highlighted scene. I'm just skipping the turn order. My highlighted scene is that scene in
Wow.
Ara's basement where we like had that conversation, the big like everyone getting together and kind of like thinking through Saida's plan and its implications. And that was like a really like powerful and really nice session just throughout, like getting to grips with not just ideology, but kind of like there was a big moment of reconciliation where we kind of like understood the stakes and we kind of like understood why we were each doing these things and like why we all felt this way, and that we kind of like achieved a sort of like sense of unit of purpose there. And also, that's also the session where kind of like pushing the Clem fic thing happening a bit more and all that. Yeah.
Was it around then?
Yeah, it was that session.
I see we've decided that we won't use the ship name Mushentine.
Mushy fruit.
Mushy fruit. Mushy fruit. I just don't want to think about that.
You said it. Why did you sing it?
Sorry?
You came up with mushy fruit. I didn't.
Did I say mushy fruit? I didn't come up
Yes.
with mushy fruit.
I just said Mushentine, and then you just said mushy fruit.
Salty said mushy fruit. Then I said mushy fruit. Did you not hear Salty?
I didn't hear salty.
I
I'm
know
still
there's a
playing
salt.
with you.
I'm just that good at throwing my
Mhm.
voice.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
get on AO3, gang.
mhm.
Make
Ow.
it real. Make it a thing.
AO3. Ow. Anyway, so just to briefly comment further on the actual scene with like, because even though I think like it gave a lot of purpose and like a lot of sense of like what the arc of this House of Endings and like Prince of Endings thing is, and of course that is something that's important for the entire crew. It was primarily a dialogue, right, between Bidrohi and Saida and kind of like getting to grips with each other. And I think like one of the things that was difficult for me a little bit was to kind of like role play like Bidrohi's desire to show Saida respect versus like Bidrohi's just personal nature, which is a bit impudent to put it lightly. And also the fact that he is distinctly worried that like this course of action is fundamentally dangerous and unwise. And yet the Ostad says we must do it, and there are rules, you must do it. So it's good to kind of like understand how we can like reconcile that versus just I fucking told you, so fucking do it.
Yeah. Well, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that
100%.
that's what would have happened, but like that didn't happen, so it was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me commenting on the same scene. I don't have any further scenes to highlight.
Yeah. Prince.
Yeah, I forget. This was kind of the scene where Saida explained the Prince of Ending things. So we've talked about that. I don't know if I want to linger on that. I mean, another scene that I think someone else had on their list, but that I can bring up now, and we can all talk about it. That I thought was a poignant character scene is Moss leaving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was just a very beautiful moment. Like, we did some paint the scene. We learned a lot about Kethris, about like the caravan, the like wedding wagon, the ceremonies of going into the desert, the farewells, which I thought was really nice. Like some cultural details between Moonlit and Moth. This heartfelt farewell. And yeah, it was a lovely scene seeing all of the characters like say goodbye to Moss, which also tied into the story in an interesting way because it sort of set us up for the next arc being like, yeah, we're going to start thinking about Kethris again, right? Because before Moss left, we had mostly thought about the struggle within Uduasha, but Moss leaving brought in the actual country of Kethris in the east again into play in an interesting way. So I thought it both set things up interestingly, and it was also just a really beautiful scene between the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happened. Let me see it. It felt like we played a really long time before that, and I guess we did. It happened pretty much exactly halfway through the campaign, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that being the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, session 14.
Yeah, it was a lovely scene. And yeah, it brought together a lot of things I like. Character moments, world building, and setting up a theme for the rest of the campaign.
Which reminds me that I would really like to have time at the end of the session to briefly touch on another Kethrisi scene, Kethrisi cultural scene.
Absolutely. Let us do that. Who wants to talk other scenes? Do we have any other scenes we want to highlight?
Sure. I can highlight a scene, which is when Mushvik and Klow getting together finally.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very lovely scene. It was very cute. I think I like the scene for the characters, but I also like the scene because I think like despite the fact that Salty and I haven't played together, I think there was like a good understanding of what we wanted from the scene, like from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it played out very smoothly.
I agree.
For sure.
It's really lovely. Very a touching scene, but also like this makes sense scene. I think that was the overwhelming sense for me. It's like, it was a scene that was good because it was not surprising, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was built up for a long time, and I think the tension that we had was that it might not happen.
Yeah. And because it was building up for a long time, I was like, there was a bit of like pressure to make it good, but I think once it took off, it took off. Like it felt like it just felt very easy to play that character in that time. So
yeah, I liked it.
nice.
Yeah, it was a really nice scene, I think. Just I feel like both of them letting down all of the pretenses they've constructed around themselves over the years. Yeah, especially because it happened after the dinner with Tamira as well. I think
Oh,
yeah,
it
it's
did.
kind of healing, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh no, it happened after the wake. Oh, that's
After the wait,
yeah, that's even it was really poignant. That kind of finding that love in amongst the sorrow.
I think that's a very important part of like what I discussed earlier about like these people who make cause and fellowship with causes and fellows that are not their own, right? You build ties, and then it becomes personal, and then the people that you're with become your family in some ways, and so on. I think there's a lot of like pathos to that, because again, like it's more than a love story, right? It's more than just the relationship between these two characters. It represents a sort of history and a sort of politics.
It does. And
Yeah.
also for Mushfiq, I think the politics has always been very personal. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
It's really interesting because I think had Clem been in the military longer, would Clem have been at Kethris as somebody that Mushfiq would have fought against? Right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a good
So-
point.
Two ships passing in the night and then finding each other in the morning on shore, sort of thing, which I think is kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it was kind of Clem coming to peace with the fact they might die during the bank score and then not doing so and being able to come back to Mushfiq as well. Yeah, I just really like their dynamic a lot.
I also
Agreed.
sorry.
I was
No,
just
go ahead.
thinking about it in silence and nodding, which you can't see, but I'm nodding.
Yeah, same.
Yes.
One day I'll be able to nod loud enough to be picked up on the microphone.
You can go.
Yes.
There we go.
Mm.
Discord's lighting up green. What's happening? Sorry, you were saying something.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I felt a need to fill the silence. It's fine.
Okay, yeah. Just nod and move along. Move on.
Yeah.
Who is there? Anyone left who has not to highlight a character scene?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Okay.
Because I've split mine up into ones that I enjoyed listening to before I was invited to play, and then the ones to play in. Just a nice contrast, because I feel like that's quite important, given my position. And I think my absolute favourite scene to listen to was Saida's talk with Moss about the nature of divinity after the canary scene, I believe that was, after the reading of the book. And then Saida's realising that they won't be there at the end of it all. Just that quiet moment.
I like the part where Saida tells Moss it's time to talk about divinity, and Moss is like, okay. I guess."
Ah, indeed.
Mhm.
Yes. And then Bidrahi as well, being the co-commentator at the Colosseum.
Mm.
That versatility, as
Oh, yes.
despite being the duelist, he's not the one actually dueling. He's the one bigging up the house.
Mhm.
He's the one showing how good the Rising Moon Sword School is. And I think that's actually a really interesting way to take the duelist as a character, about being the hype man, about being not just good at the fighting part, but also about the showmanship. I think really delineating it from a cutter in that way
Yeah.
as well. It's not about the violence, it's about the showmanship, it's about the panache.
Yeah.
Damn, I realized that I've never used my Kethrisi accent again. Remember my Kethrisi accent?
Yes, yes.
I
Your
know Aadiyat
boss,
remembers my,
yeah.
I remember Aadiyat remembers my Kethrisi accent.
I must have erased it from my memory.
Yes, good.
But yeah, I think my favourite moment to play in early on was when Bidrahi lashes out at that family dinner, because Clem intentionally made themselves scarce. So I wasn't in that scene, but it was amazing to think about how, if Clem was at the window, how they would react to it. That, and the fact that you didn't throw the bonsai into the fire, and that choice would have impacted the our score just gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was an amazing scene in so many ways. Probably my favorite little detail is imagining Mushfik just quietly eating in the background as this
Exactly,
goes
yeah.
down, which is so
Mhm.
it's so peak uncle somehow. Just like this big fight unfolding around the table at huge dramatic stakes, and Mushfik just minding his food. It's,
So
Pass me the
no,
But
Rumali,
he would have
yeah,
been the
thanks.
one
It-
to catch the bonsai had it been thrown
Yeah.
into the fire either way.
yeah. Uh-huh.
no joke. One time, Iftar, there was a medical emergency in my house. Like, someone was a life-threatening medical emergency, and we were all rushing there to deal with this. And then the guest, one of my mom's friends, just quietly went on eating the khichdi because it was very good khichdi.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm.
yeah.
This is like it
They
somehow
stayed with
feels
me.
very authentic. Yeah.
They stayed with me.
I think
Mind you,
focusing on the
mind you, I was just going to add that after the emergency was done, and then at like midnight, I went back home, and then I ate the khichdi, and it was cold, and I was like, you know what? She knew what she was
Should have
doing.
eaten it.
uh,
Yeah. Mm.
Go on, Aadiyat.
Yes.
I was saying that I think it's a kind of not skill, but it's a kind of thing you have to learn. I think in a South Asian household, it's like it's sort of defense mechanism. Just focus on the food. It'll pass. Don't get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I think in my South Asian household, it was just pretend you're making tea. Just pretend you're
Yeah,
making
yeah.
tea, and then once you're done making the tea, pretend that like actually all that matters is you eating the tea.
Yeah.
Do that.
Mm.
Eating the tea, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's another
Yeah.
element to it, which is just like, okay, if you're at a South Asian thing and like clearly something's kicking off, and if it was any other culture, you'd get up and address that, right? Not keep on eating, right? But
Yeah.
it's also rude to ignore the food, to get up from the dinner table, right? So you're like,
Yeah, and like you don't want to be a target. You don't want to get up and then
Yeah.
realize that now everyone's looking at you. That is the worst. So it's really important that like if you keep eating, you will continue to blend into the background.
You know what? Speaking of blending into the background, how do we know Moss wasn't there for the last few sessions anyway?
Ah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Damn.
Ooh, yeah, we should just say canonically, Moss was always there, just as
Yes.
one of the background characters.
Mhm.
Indeed.
Moss was actually in that painting.
You know what would be
mural.
fucked up if Moss was also secretly Ixis.
I wasn't gonna say the same thing.
I'm just saying that would be really fucked up. Like,
That would
I
be
mean,
fucked
and
up.
Moss always had the most Ixis-like ability, which
Yeah.
was
Mm.
nobody can notice me if I don't want them to.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that everything that looks like Ixis is Ixis. I'm just saying that Ixis looks like nothing.
Yeah, like if it quacks like an Ixis and if it waddles like an Ixis, how do we know it's not Ixis?
Why is a
Yeah.
Dutch woman so good at playing a South Asian coded forest person?
Oh shit, Emma is Ixis. I'm realizing this now. This makes sense.
Hiding in plain
That's
sight.
why she cannot
Yeah.
be here today.
Oh
She's
man,
taking,
like if
she's taking the
if
year
we're
off
gonna
for tax
assign-
reasons.
if we're gonna assign ourselves demon princes and Emma is Ixis, and I think I would have to accept that I'm the Prince of Endings mostly because like I came up with it, but I'm happy to not be the Prince of Endings.
No, you're Serek. You work out.
Does nobody else work? I feel like everybody works. I mean,
You don't mean
okay.
that.
I don't know. I don't know who could be Kayat except for Tree, though.
Mm.
Oh, that's nice
Oh,
of you
yeah.
to say. Damn. Yeah.
Actually, I'm a PhD.
Mm.
Fair.
Actually.
Yeah, fair.
Oh, right, yes, Dr. Zoheb.
Yes.
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 Oh, doctor.
Doctor.
Oh,
Anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So what are we
let's
doing?
watch this.
Yeah. Yes. I
no,
think we
no,
should move on talking about. Yeah, I think we should talk about some of our scores next.
Yes.
Yes, we should.
Yes.
But while we do this, Zoheb, please find this video and then send it to Sulti so that they may observe it.
What video?
Oh,
Kumar
doctor.
right.
Bishajit, Doctor.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
This will go into the episode description, I guess, because we talk
Yeah.
about it. Sure. Okay.
Yes.
Mm. Anyway.
Yes, we have also referenced it before.
Yes.
Anyway, let's talk some about scores. I guess I'll start because I brought it up and I haven't started one of these conversations yet. I really liked hitting Jasper's Giselchis, or hitting Jasper's house. It was a very distributed score. We did a lot of different weird things. We had some people go in through the bathhouse and take out an NPC I'd set up to be incredibly badass, who then got like instantly knocked out and her cool coat stolen.
Yeah. Okay.
Where we had I remember this, we literally had a clock for like she puts on her clothes and armor, and it was like, oh no, once she's battle ready, she's gonna be like impossible to fight. And then that clock finished and she just put on like her super armor and super weapons and came out of the bath and was like, yeah, I'm ready to fight. And then you guys won instantly anyway, which was very funny.
It's how good we are.
Yeah, but then also there was a lot of like really like both over the top action. We had this guy full of grenades that he set on fire and then blew up. There's like a lot of it really felt like a Bravo score.
Yeah. I liked getting to steal everybody's stuff. That was very fun.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But then it also had like these interesting stakes of like we had Mushfiq actually confronting Jasper and killing him at the end. We also had a weird intermission of Guy in a pool. There was a weird amount of people bathing in this score, but I guess you were trying to catch them like while they were busy with the spa, so that makes sense still.
Saris are
really-
armed only with towel.
And Satara as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nabila, right? Like that was strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah,
it
just
really
a little.
reminded me of The Witcher 3, because The Witcher 3 has a series of things happen in saunas.
Yeah.
And it had very much the same thing of this man armed with 2 swords is now gonna rampage through this otherwise quite unassuming sauna.
Yeah. But it was a cool score. It, like a lot of high octane action, a lot of carrying the story forward, and it had interesting ramifications. It's how we found the table and everything, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was cool to see a confrontation with Jasper. I also enjoyed Jasper's door trap. That was also fun.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The one that nearly killed Mushrik? Come on.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just such a moment where it's like the consequence is you activate the door trap and nearly electrocute yourself to death. Or well,
Yeah.
electrocute yourself to death, but you can resist it.
Do you
So-
still have that harm? Does Mushrik still have that harm as well? Van de
No.
Graaff generator hair.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, why have we not highlighted this before? That's just how it is. How it's been all this time.
Yeah. Mushfiq has just had
Maybe-
crazy hair ever since that score.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't
he
really
feels
tell the difference.
subconscious about this or
Yeah.
something.
Small oof. Van de Graaff
Yeah.
generator hair.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But he gets to ignore the penalty.
Yes, he does. He's tough as nails.
He's
I
not
love getting an
penalized from
ability.
hanging hair.
Yes, I love the idea of getting that ability specifically to avoid a bad hair day. That's incredible, actually. Okay, yeah, that's the score I want to highlight. I think it's there were many really good scores, but that one was really fun for me.
Who is
Oh.
next?
I'll go next.
Mhm.
I have written down the first desert score about how the Deathlands are just so completely at odds with like the standard Blades in the Dark, out of the book Blades in the Dark. And then it was as well, it was Mushfiq, Moss and Clem together. And it was just so cool to see those three who are intensely out of city folk working together. Mushfiq punches a bat. An introduction of somebody just like Moss out there, and Moss getting to show off all her really cool stuff. I get a friend. Clem gets to make friends with somebody who is an ancient philosopher from a time that kind of never was. It was fantastic. But
yeah.
thinking back, I also loved the score where Mylera Clev gets murked in the dark.
Oh
Because
yeah,
it is Blades in the Dark.
yeah,
It was quintessential.
Yeah, true. Both great scores. I enjoyed the Desert Adventures a lot too. I liked the. I particularly actually liked the whole like both of them having a base in this like freaky cave. I thought that was. I liked that you guys brought that back after it was introduced the first time. And this is maybe tooting my own horn, but I was fond of the idea that bits fell off the star, creating these little safe zones in the desert, which are
Yes.
safe maybe, but it's also like, the well is not safe. It protects you against ghosts, but it's also like weird arcane radioactive fire. It may not be the best idea to just hang around that unprotected, but so it goes. I thought that was it's a haunting bit of just imagery, I thought.
I loved
Yeah.
coming back and discovering that apparently Clementine had a weird many-fingered, many-handed, many-somethinged.
Yes.
Like, what is going on here? Like...
I know. And I love how that was never really fully explained. Like, the other occultists you met were like, holy shit, that's one of those. And you're like, one of what? And
Yeah.
they were like, they never really
This
got
is my
explained.
best- This is
yeah.
my best friend. You can't be rude.
You shouldn't ask
There-
what people's deal
Yes,
is in queer
exactly
spaces.
Yeah.
This is the eldest queer.
Yes, that is true.
The queerest elder.
Canonically, kindly teacher is the queerest of all of us.
Yes.
I think so. I think that's true. Indisputable.
That is not dead which eternal can lie, but with queer eons. I don't know. Yeah.
Can be really queer. That's
Yes.
how that is.
Yes.
Yes. For my highlighted score, I will just I'll just say the finale. We have talked at length about the finale. We've just played through the finale, but I think, well, we were a bit nervous about, like, how do we end this? We've been building up for a year, and there's just so many like important beats we have to hit. So many like things to tie together. Demon House we haven't seen, like all these kinds of like ambitious elements, and we played through it for 2 sessions, of course, which I think helped. But I felt that it was a very satisfying finale. I really enjoyed like living through it, like experiencing it as a player. I hope that the listeners enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
so
the
fresh that
finale
I don't
was
want to talk too
good.
much about it. But yeah, go on. Sorry, go on.
No, I loved the finale. I had a ton of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the finale quite a lot as well. I enjoyed being 3 in that finale. Also an incredibly strange person to be. And I think that like the fact that like the finale did concern itself quite a lot with, how shall we say, a shortcut to a restaurant. That was a key plot point of the finale. That was great. That was genuinely incredible. I love that shit.
Yeah.
It's important that we all go back to Uppsala and try Hassan Grillmaster.
Yes. Yes. Apparently it is.
Yes.
So it goes. All right. More scores we want to talk about.
Yes. I can talk about a double feature. The second venture into the Deathlands, where we intercepted Omid's his would-be rescue team, and then we did his job for him. Thought like I think that score ranks pretty high in the number or intensity of fucked up things we did.
Yep.
To people and to each other or ourselves. And then I really liked, and maybe it would have been nice to see more of them. The Cholmon delays, as silly
Yes.
name
Yes.
as we had given them. Like
Uh-huh.
the lore, the setting, and like I think it was a very good example of us setting up the lore, like the world building, and then like through the play, because their culture and like was and like understanding their culture and negotiating them, through that medium was very important, right? So
Yeah.
I really
Yeah, it was
enjoyed that as well. Yeah. Yeah, and also wish we got to do some fun little, swinging around and kicking people. I mean, no,
Yeah.
swinging around like tall rocks and all that. So that's always fun.
Yeah, and we all
Any
got
hook shot day
behind.
is a good day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Sorry,
got
Salty.
to no, it's fine. Got to display how each of our characters would fight. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to rugby tackle a woman off of a spire with a desperate extreme, and that was fantastic. I love a desperate
Yes.
extreme action. What can I say?
Yeah.
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 Rugby
It's
tackling
going
a
to be a
hot
real
woman.
shame when we play PBTA next season and there will be no position or effect.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah,
We'll live.
if we were playing
Yeah, we'll live.
Half and Brindlewood, I'd just be like, "Can I have
Mm.
this? Can this be a night move now, please? I only
Yes.
want night moves ever."
Can I have a night move as a little treat?
Yes. All right. Any other scores we want to discuss? To look back
I
on.
really enjoyed, and it was a kind of a strange score, but I really enjoyed the score where we met the Bob, and Bidrohi went dueling against that guy who was a kebab man, if I remember correctly. But also the whole thing was a way for us to distract everybody from the fact that Mushfiq was swinging around, dropping poison into his kebabs.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah, it
That
was
was
a
some shit.
Chili.
yeah. It was a chili, yes. It was Skovlander style chili because that's
Yes,
apparently
that's
a thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Food is really important to the way we
Mm.
operate.
Yeah.
Can you
yeah.
imagine the Bobs eating anything except a big old bowl of chili?
Yes.
Yes,
I
correct.
think
He
he'd like
did
a
have a
hot dog.
Texan accent, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He'd be a hot dog guy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
Hot
he'd be a
dog.
Cornish
hot dog guy.
pasty. Cornish pasty.
But
Bob only eats Cornish pasties.
Oh,
yeah.
die.
But yes, I agree. It was a fun and different score. It was like one of the
Mm.
few scores I think where Mushfiq was 100% stealth, because I don't think anyone at
Yes.
any point saw Mushfiq through the entire
Nobody
score.
knew.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that Mushfiq was even there. Like,
He
Yeah.
Tarzaned
just-
across the roofs and no one saw it.
Yeah.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it
And
was.
it was three very different things. I think it was Mushfiq being a stealth man, and then
Mhm.
Saida being like, "I'm gonna make friends with this guy," and then Bidrohi, and then Saida looking at Bidrohi and saying, "You have to kick the shit out of this man."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was great. Like Bidrohi being taking the mission and then understanding the brief correctly.
Yeah.
You know that video they'll show in psych classes? People are playing basketball and then a gorilla walks across and no one notices.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
Mushfiq.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Mushfiq.
Yeah.
I think
It
you
was
made
an
the
interesting score,
exact
'cause-
reference at the time.
Yeah.
You said the same thing at the time.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Incredible.
But it was an interesting score in that all the PCs were doing their own different separate things, and yet they all fit together. I think it's a great example of Blades at its finest, where you have the slide thing, the lurk thing, the cutter thing. Everyone's doing their thing, and yet they come together to a cohesive whole, which is always nice.
Yeah. Actually, something that I enjoyed that we echoed, because I think it also has our butcher friend Cutlet in, was when we attacked, when we had Anish and Rakis's meeting.
Yeah. Gulal Jamun Shield, I remember.
And the barge as well,
Mm.
the deal, and how we worked out to do two disparate things at the same time in the same score in around the same location. That was
Yeah.
a really good score, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was a wild score. Like there was a lot of fighting and a lot of talking.
Mm. Getting to see the avatar of the seven-headed war.
Yes.
Oh. Fantastic.
And his video game Choose Your Fighter carousel.
It's
Yes,
Pokemon
indeedy.
team, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a Pokemon team.
Mm.
You've got your 7 Pokemon, choose your type advantage.
Mm-hmm. And he plays it well. Like he doesn't have like that one Pokemon who's just like the one that he always just uses, and the rest are just there.
The thing is, the way the Pokemon games are set up is that's actually the best way to play.
Yeah, I almost. Anyway, no, let's not get into that. But yes.
Did
I
you
was gonna
also
say
only
also that-
have damage dealing moves on these Pokemon?
Yes. You're there to do damage. What are you talking about?
They're weak to ontology, you know.
Yes. Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I'll go back to
Lastly, let's talk about twists in the story. And
Okay.
related to that, I think we've touched upon like the overarching story arcs a lot already.
Mm.
But let's talk about our favorite unexpected twists, which I always think is an interesting time. Just
I'll just
what didn't go as expected. Yeah.
I'll just jump in and say Clem's marriage to Tamira. That was wow. Woo. Yeah. Mm. That's my reaction at the time. I don't know if that's how I actually reacted at the time. Let's say that's how I reacted at the time.
I think
And if
we all
I didn't, I
like-
should have. Mhm.
if I remember correctly, like when Salty introduced Tamira as their wife, I think we all assumed X, right? And then
Yeah.
Salty just went, "Is my wife?" Question mark, and that's when we all went, "What? Huh?"
Yeah.
Yeah. I could tell Salty was like, what? How about let's try this? How does
Yeah,
that sound?
yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that was lovely. It was a great moment. Big twist.
Yeah. Just trying something, seeing audience reaction and being like, yeah, I chose right. Yeah.
Yeah. Good times.
Sticker.
Salty,
Yeah,
please
comedian
confirm if
goes
this
out
is.
on, please go
that
out
this is your-
on stage. Mm.
Yeah. Please confirm this is your creative process or not. I don't know.
My creative process is saying something and rolling with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Technically, that's what
like-
we all do.
Oh,
We
for
roll
real.
with it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we be rolling. No, I definitely wanted her to still have that connection because it's a little bit more interesting than divorce.
Yes. And to be clear, the divorce papers were never filed, so I think you're still married to her.
Oh yeah,
Just saying.
I think that's a Mushfig problem now.
Mushfiq problem. Mushfiq's the kind of guy who'd be like, oh, nice.
Would he be the kind of guy to be all nice?
No, I just made that up.
Yeah. I feel like he
Sometimes,
would.
sometimes I just make things up, you know.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah. Also
Do we
known
know
as
where Tamira
lying.
is? Maybe we'll touch on that in the epilogue. Which
Yeah.
like having to, I don't know, cross to a different like continent to serve Tamira the divorce papers.
Yeah. All right. Other twists and turns.
Yes, there were.
I have to say the one at the end. Oh my God, Clem might have been secretly Excess the whole time. Oh my God, that was great, terrifying, but incredible.
We were joking about that, right? Was that real?
Well,
Yeah,
it's
no, yeah,
Ixis,
that was-
so
Yeah.
we will never know how long Ixis had been running that con, and I think that's the funniest thing about it. It's
Yes.
Ixis has been running this con for some time, unclear how long, right?
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
to quote something people used to say back in my university, it's just a joke, but please take it serious.
Oh my God, that is incredible. Is that something? Oh my God.
/J, but also /SRS.
Mhm.
Yeah,
JK.
indeed.
JK, but
Yes.
I think my favorite thing about that, aside from the fact that it's a great fucking twist, and we saw so much come out, is that allowed me a moment to kind of like reconcile like the sort of like, I mean, it was obviously interesting and funny that Clem and Bidre didn't get along, but I think it was gave an interesting moment to kind of like narratively reconcile that a little bit. Say like, the fact that these misunderstandings happen kind of like tell you that that was not pretense, right? Because that's not how artifice works.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even if, no matter what part of you may have been overtaken by this ontological, magical, lying bullshit thing that Exis does, right? There's going to be parts of you that you know that you can have rock solid confirmation were real in you. And which is kind of how I imagine like this Exis lie thing. It's not like that was how it was all along. It's just like Exis says something, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's canon now.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed
the GMPC. I see.
Yeah. I enjoyed the like bringing the full weight of the demon princes in this way, where it's just like, yeah, of course Ixis can just kidnap one of you and replace them off screen. No big deal.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the thing that Ixis can do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, hitting with that. The reason it doesn't work is because you don't love yourself. I was like,
Oh shit! Yeah, that was also
okay, then we're
Yeah.
playing hardball now, are we? Oh, I see what
I
we're
thought
doing.
the balls were soft, but the balls, unfortunately.
I'm going. This is going to be the thing that I will take revenge on you for next season.
For the balls being hard?
Yeah, this sentence.
I'm sorry, but Prince is the one playing hardball, so.
Yes.
Also, next season, next campaign, we were talking about me GMing, so I don't know.
Oh yeah. You think that's a coincidence? No, it's not.
Yes.
Further twists and turns. Who's got a twist? Huh? Who's got a twist?
I've got a twist.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, with with this the arc of Mushrik looking for his Ustad and trying to looking for his Ustad, and he knew that Gurban would lead to Ustad's Jaiklev's death in some way, but I like the twist where it wasn't that he was dead physically, but like seeing him change completely from the person that Mushrik remembered. It was I guess a more subtle twist, but I think for the scene it worked really well. It certainly invoked in me all of the emotions that a twist should, and and then having to deal with that in character was a bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say it did throw me for a loop because but it's not what I was expecting at all. But I think it then led into like Mushrik's development really well as well.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked how you took that new information, how it like shook Mushfik to the core, how it then led to this scene with the wonderful barber, which was a small scene, but I loved that that's how Mushfik ended up processing it by getting a haircut. The barber was only one scene, but it was a cute scene. Yeah. And I also thought it felt like a realistic development for the Ustad in that he didn't completely switch sides, right? You can sort of see how it logically follows, where he goes like, I'm rebelling against Uduasha. No, wait, I'm actually rebelling against Akaros. They're at fault, and we should unite with Uduasha. Like, it's not totally left field that he would change his mind in this way, but it still is obviously a huge betrayal. So,
I guess it was more of the vibes more than anything else that were off-putting.
Yeah, of course.
Rancid vibes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he didn't pass the vibe check, and so he had to die.
Yeah. I like there were so many twists tied to the Prince of Endings, going back and forth, like what that would actually mean. And a moment where I surprised myself was turning the Tower of Stars into a tree, which was just off the cuff.
That was great.
That was fantastic.
But,
that felt to me like a significant enough way to be like, yeah, congratulations, you have ontologically fucked the city up. This tower that has just been ominously hanging in the background, suddenly transforming into a tree. Yeah, I like that.
Yes. I also like that
Mm.
because it demonstrated that not only do we not know what's going on, we do not know how much we do not know what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on.
Mhm.
A known unknown. Good.
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was great.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Another twist I was pleased in, which I was sitting on for the longest time, which I think warrants discussion, is Bidruhi's parentage, because
Oh, yes.
I realized pretty early on that it would be interesting if Ramu was not actually Bidruhi's biological father, because Ramu had shaped so much of Bidruhi's early game,
Mm.
like being in the shadow of this like warlike guy. But then the more I thought about it, the more it also kind of made sense. Like Bidruhi is not very much like Ramu in almost any way. So, and it's a little bit of classic soap opera drama, which I enjoyed introducing.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
very good.
I'm always hesitant about these, like where you're like doing things that might define a PC, but at the same time, I think when you pull them off well, they can be the most rewarding things to play with as a player. When the GM just goes like, "This thing you thought about yourself, it's not actually true."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it was important that it came at a point where Bidruhi had kind of like established his own identity, because if it came early on, that would be there. I'm not saying that would have been worse, but that would have had a different impact entirely.
Yeah, no, that's why I waited. This is not one of the things of this being off the cuff. This is something I decided pretty early on and then just sat on until like it felt like the right moment to introduce it. And it was also contingent on you having a good relationship with your mom, which took some time to land as well. So, yeah.
It was content gated until you upped your relationship by 70.
Yes. Exactly.
I had changed my mind about the thing I would take revenge for. Just letting you know. Thanks.
Salty,
Dragon and Dungeons.
Yeah, Salty, how about you give us a twist and get some of this heat off my back?
I would, but that was my twist. That was my favorite twist.
Oh, so this is the twist. Yeah. The twist is there's no further twists.
I think, but it's just thinking about how, as you said, it's shaped so much of that early development that you're an heir to this legacy. But I think it's after that twist that strikes me that Bidruhi makes something worthy of like the golden, right? Bidruhi actually goes and does something concretely important for the Kethracy rather than what Ramu was doing. I think that's I think that really contextualizes that twist.
I think also in several ways, like for Bidruhi, it didn't change anything because, like, okay, I mean, being biologically related to someone and being like literally someone's son has a valency that obviously I'm not going to say it's like that a stepfather can, essentially, right? But Ramu did raise him, and in a sense, like, I think it's interesting because like Ramu is kind of like the guy who stepped up but didn't step up, right? He stepped up, but maybe he shouldn't have.
He stepped up, but maybe he shouldn't have. Yeah. That's a good way to put it, I think. You're right.
Yeah.
It is a shame that Moss wasn't in the story at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, I think it would have been a very different reveal.
Because that hits a lot harder because like Ramu stepping up is the reason Moss lost everything.
Yeah, of course. And it has a certain poignancy to it. Like, it's a horrible choice for Moonlit, actually, because Moonlit is doing something that's objectively unfair, right? But we had established this thing that, like, by law, Moss doesn't have a right to inherit, and presumably by law, Bidruhi wouldn't either, and it would all go to Usra. But Moonlit was just, no, I'm not having this happen to a second child, right? I cannot send a second child into the wilderness, so I'm going to lie. And obviously, as you say, it creates this very painful situation between Bidruhi and Moss, where it's like, so this legitimacy that Bidru has had all along, he actually didn't have. But yeah, it's a horrible choice for a parent to have to make, obviously, because in a sense she basically had to make Bidruhi her favorite child for legal reasons, which is awful.
Yeah.
And then the land is gone.
And then the land is gone. Yeah.
Hey
Yeah,
guys, wouldn't it be funny if we went back to Kethris and reclaimed the land and then I got disinherited? Wouldn't that be funny?
Don't worry about it. I
Memes.
have all the papers.
This
Yeah.
Okay, first thing we do, we abolish private property. This way you can
Mhm.
disinherit me.
Yes.
I'm going to
Is the
disinherit everyone
reason
first.
you
No
wanna?
landlords
Yeah, I was
anymore.
gonna say you wanna get rid of private property because you believe in your own private property.
Yes.
Okay, how many people who want to abolish private property have private property?
Mm,
Damn, you got me there. Damn.
yes.
Mhm.
I think Bidruhi is just motivated by spite
Engels
here.
had private property, right?
Sorry, what?
Then Engels was rich, he had private property, and he wanted to abolish it, right?
I'm saying how many
No,
people?
no.
Not that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
one, at least one.
Yeah.
At
Well,
least one guy.
I think it's 100%. Right? I think it's all of them.
Oh,
You know, unfortunately.
I've just realised when you said Prince about Moss being cast into the wilderness, is Moss the Prince of Endings?
Yeah. I mean, I have
Yeah.
pulled. I've leaned a lot in this direction
Yeah.
throughout, actually. Like, and especially after Moss departed, Moss
Yeah.
being somehow tied to the prince is very symbolic. Also, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's partially why I was interested in, oh, maybe there's someone in Kethris who is, right? But also in some ways, I think because Moss is uniquely trained, it's possible that unlike the rest of us, she doesn't have to become some kind of weird ontological paradox.
Mm.
Yeah. Maybe.
Possibly. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this takes us beautifully. I think that concludes everything on our list of retrospectives. And I think it takes us beautifully into epilogue territory, by the way. Or do we have
Yeah.
anything else we want to add?
It was a pleasure and a privilege. Aside from thanking God and my family, I thank everyone here present.
Yeah, likewise. I've absolutely enjoyed having all of you along for this wild ride. It's been a long ride. It's been a fun times. We've had sometimes difficulty organizing the campaign, sometimes been difficult to pull it together, but it's been great having everyone here. Yeah.
You don't have
I
to
think-
play D&D to have scheduling be the big bad evil guy.
No.
Correct.
No.
It's an equal
And I
opportunities
think in
guy.
some ways, this was the difficult second book or whatever, right?
Mm.
Like, I think the first season was quite raw, which I liked. The second season, we were more practiced in some ways, but at the same time, it meant that we were more keen to take on things that maybe we were not as well equipped to do, and then we learned a lot from doing that.
Mm.
And that was great.
Yes. Okay.
And
So,
yeah. So yes, please go on. No, it's not. There's nothing more to say. I was just saying. Yeah, go on.
good. We will, of course, give our characters an epilogue, but and I think it's only fitting that everyone does their own character's epilogue. We can butt in and discuss, but doing the epilogues for yourself and the NPCs you feel attached to, I am not going to. I'm going to let you guys lead on the epilogue, but first we have the name day.
The
Klow.
harvest, yes. All right. Would you like me to frame up Kethrisi Harvest Day and just get right into it?
Yes, let's do it.
Are we all ready? Are we all ready for a harvest?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, to catch people up, Kethrisi Harvest Day is the celebration of the last day of bringing in the rice back in Kethris. And this day is important not just because of the fact that there's food, but because it's also the day in which Kethrisi, essentially, it's the Kethrisi birthday as well, because they don't celebrate individual birthdays, like the actual day of your birth, but like your age is reckoned based on how many harvest days you have seen. So it's something that's particularly poignant in Uduasha, obviously, because people there is no real harvest to bring in except the stuff in Gilly Gilly Gully, which I assume is also coming in a different season entirely. So I think like what's happening is that normally on this day we would have like a gigantic feast with all the recently like harvested rice and all the fruits and so on, and everyone would like grow up another year. But like in Uduasha, what happens is that people just buy the food that they can from the markets, and like they try to, I guess, like buy Kitrusi stuff especially, and they just have like a small communal sort of feast. And they tell each other that, now you're this year old and whatever. But it's kind of rings a little bit hollow because we all now have to subscribe to Uduasha's system of like recording birthdays and so on. So like it's kind of like, in Bangladesh we have like we follow the Gregorian calendar, but like the newspapers also publish like the Bengali calendar date. It's entirely different. And that's just a cultural ceremonial thing. I don't think I know a single person who follows the actual Bengali calendar in their day-to-day lives. And yet. So I think like that's the sort of vibe. And I think like this particular harvest day that we're seeing is special, obviously, because now we have like our own farm to get food from, even though I guess that farm produced food months ago. Now we have money. Now we have our own god. And now we have to say goodbye as well. And next year we'll be in Kethras, celebrating Harvest Day in our community. So, so it's not entirely celebratory, of course, because I think there are political forces who want us to leave as well. And I think they're probably represented here and they're probably watching. But this is kind of like, I don't know. Imagine having a really, really loud raucous party and like the last, like, happy drinks in the house before the bar tells you that you have to leave. I guess it's kind of edges into that. So that's what I'm thinking. And there's a couple things that I want to achieve here, but I think like maybe some sort of paint the scene at first would be nice to kind of like, get a sense of like what's going on. I'm not very good at these though, at the prompts. So, Prince, do you have paint the scene questions in mind?
Sure. Where are we setting up the scene, just to be clear? Like, where is this taking place?
I think in the community center. The thing that used to be the sword school, the temple.
Yeah, and we're celebrating a last harvest day. Well, I think... okay, let's do some... Should I do player-specific paint the scenes? I think maybe let's do that. I think it's always a good time. So, let's start with Mushfik then. What is the harvest day meal consist of, or like what's special about the food? I imagine it's a lot of food because it's a harvest day, so it's
and we're now rich.
There's a lot of food on the table. But I guess what is special about Harvest Day? What is like a seasonal thing that Ketrusi people eat only rarely and has like a special significance here?
So remember, we've gone back to Ketras at this point, have we? Right?
No, we're still in Udasha.
Oh, we're still in Udasha. Okay.
Don't say gulab jamun.
No, I was gonna say actually in the retrospect that to the disservice of other Bengali sweets, we've really overemphasized gulab jamun. It's not even that good.
Gulab jamun isn't Bengali.
Huh?
Finally! Yes, you're right. You're right. It's not even that good.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with it being good. It's just a meme.
Yeah.
My favorite sweet is kalajam, basically.
Exactly. It's the better version. Anyway. What are we? Sorry. What was the question? Oh, what's the special thing we eat?
Yes.
Oh, it's Harvest Day. Yes. Okay. Let me think. This is the Harvest Day. You're not gonna have the harvest, or maybe you are.
Yeah, you're supposed to have the harvest, right? That's why
You're
it's
supposed to have
normally
the harvest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not in Ketras, so we don't have all the bells and whistles of the Ketras Harvest Day. We're having to have the what we have is our one bitter gourd farm, and what we can get from Gilly Gully Gully, right? So maybe we're not having what normally we would have in Ketris, and we're having to make do with the weird mushrooms and things that are growing illegally and our bitter gourd harvest. Delicious.
I imagine that it's actually quite difficult for us to get Ketrisi food right now because perhaps shipments have stopped because of what we have done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've roasted up some mushrooms and everyone's having mushroom salad. That's what everyone's having.
Very good.
Okay. All right. So it's a big mushroom salad. Yep. Bidruhi, you have been wearing the flower crowns, and you specified that they are a thing at the funerals and at other occasions. I think the paint the scene question for you is, what is the significance of flowers more broadly?
Before I get to that, Aadiyat, you wanted to say something?
Yes, let me just amend my answer to say that I think because also like I think that people are going to be coming to this festival from like different parts of town, and so it's also a bit of a potluck. I think people have just brought stuff in to also maybe to throw into like a communal soup. So we've got a bitter gourd, we've got the gilly mushrooms, and then we just have like just whatever you've got, just throw it in here, and we'll make something.
Yeah.
Prince, so your question about significance, do you mean like how are flowers being utilized and present at this festival, or like why?
Yeah. How, I mean, why is probably just because they're available, even though they're more of a spring thing. But I guess let's broaden the question a little bit, right? How are plants used as decor, and what is the significance of it? Because we've had a lot of the trees, and we've had the flower crowns, but it seems like Kethris relies a lot on, significant plants. And so, tell us some about the plants that are brought in to decorate this.
I'll do my best. I'm not a plant person.
Yeah.
So I think everyone is wearing the flower crowns, and I think now we have like real flowers from the the botanical garden in Udaput, which is not cheap, but we have money now, and this is important. So we are all like wearing the flowers, and I think like traditionally, what you would wear is like I don't know what the actual flowers for any of these fruits or plants would originally have been, but I think like you're supposed to wear certain traditional colors that are like made from fruit dyes and so on, like on your clothes. And they represent and they're like from the fruits of the actual things that are normally consumed in the harvest, I think. I don't know if banana dye is a real thing. I assume not. Tree would know more.
These are magical bananas, so
yeah. So Tree would know, but I think like
magical bananas can have dyes. It's not a big deal, right? I don't really know anyone who uses banana leaves or peels to dye in real life, but that's probably because it's not fast. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason that Mushfiq's magical bananas can't be used to make dyes.
Yeah, so I think like the flowers and the fruits and so on are kind of like also present in the coloring that is normally used, and I think because we are kind of like not able to access those things in the way that we normally would, we're making do with paint and like the local dyes and the locally sourced colors that are available in Ludwasha. So there's that. I think aside from that, there is a table that we're all eating at. Oh wait, no, we said that tables weren't really a thing in Gethris. Right? Yeah, so there isn't a table. So I think instead we're eating this mushroom stew from like again, we would normally be using banana leaves, like big banana leaves. And I think instead we're using leaves from Gili Gili Gully, from I don't know which plant. Yeah, I think that's about it. If I come up with another interesting little thing to throw in, I will.
My question for Clem then is, what sign is there? I think we have had a lot at these like events of like things that Clem find different and so on. But I think the interesting thing here is to go in the opposite direction. And Clem, what sign here is there that you are just part of this community now? It needn't be anything explicit with the ceremony, right? It's just like, as we see Clem participate here, what sign is there that you are no longer viewed as an outsider? Or maybe that you are no longer viewing yourself as an outsider as you participate in these festivities?
That they're speaking Catharsis and Clem is as well.
Yeah. I like that a lot, yeah. Having picked up this dialect that is almost a language that... I mean, maybe it is a language now, right? It is now a dialect that actually has an army and a navy. So maybe it is a language now.
How good are you at it?
Oh, I think it's quite stilted.
I bet the accent is incomprehensible.
French
Not-
accented
yeah.
Catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe using a couple of loan words of Severossi on occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will never forget the first time I heard a German speak Bengali. I was like, what? What are these words? What are these sounds? Okay, I see. Not to be mean. It's just like, I mean, I think that's one of the things about being a native English speaker, right? Like, you know what the different accents are, for your language. There are some languages that you just aren't aware of what someone else from somewhere completely different would sound like saying that language, speaking that language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The most incomprehensible linguistic experience of my life was trying to understand Danish with a Chinese accent. That was the hardest communication I've ever attempted, I think.
Oh dear. Yeah, sounds about right.
But yeah, I like that. Clem is now speaking the language. And lastly, then, Sri. Obviously, there is a ceremonial component to this. Some sort of blessing, some sort of like, I don't imagine it's much. I imagine this is the kind of harvest festival where, it's a birthday, it's a harvest festival. It's more like celebratory fun vibes, right? This is not some big ass ritual. This is not primarily a religious thing. But even so, at these things, there are these little touches of blessings and well-wishings and so on. And what small signs of these are worked in? What is the way? Essentially, I'm asking, like, what is the way to like bless your neighbor at the table? Right? This is not some big leader of the community preaching, but the little things. Yeah.
I think probably what is most traditional is that because you're meant to be in fruit dyed colors, you put a little color on each other, right? And probably just like in real life, some people take it way more seriously, and then there's way more color, and then for some people it's just like a daub like on the forehead or whatever. But it's just like a small we're sitting together and we are colorful together, right?
Yeah.
Very nice.
All right. Yeah. Beautiful. The last thing that I will add, I think, is that because this is everyone's official birthday, I think that there is a leader of the community. Let's say it's Al-Qadar in this case. It's a literate, or these are small villages, so people are not necessarily overly literate, right? These are people who can. In some villages, these are probably people who can write the basics, maybe. But some literate, some learned person actually goes around and notes down everyone's age, like tallies it up. And I think this is also a little ritual that goes, for the elder people, it's like said with respect. I think it's very different depending on your age, right? So if you're old, Al-Qadar would be like, oh, 89, congratulations, very impressive age, and does a little like sign of respect. And then for the kids, it's like, do you know how old you are? And the kid will say, and then he'll be like, no, actually, you are 5, that's this many. So, and I think he goes around and dutifully does this for everyone. Like, everyone gets this little personal interview about like how old you are, noting this down. Because that's part of the point. You update everyone's ages, and I think Alcadar goes out of his way to make sure that this is personal for everyone, even though it's quite a lot of people.
Mm.
But I think that is how it's traditionally done. The elder talks to everyone about their year and notes down one more year to their tally.
Mm-hmm. And I think this segues us nicely to what I think happens at the start of the meal, which is so I wrote this and posted it in podcast poetry. I think there's it's not like saying grace. I suppose it occupies a slightly similar sort of position in the ritual of the communal meal, but someone begins reciting this traditional sort of poem, and everyone kind of joins in as they speak, and it's a poem that's about the cycles and kind of just the importance of these trees and the food that comes in, and how all of that is tied deeply to how deeply Kethrisi identity and the Kethrisi people are tied to the trees, literally, right? They pass into them, right? Once they die.
Mm-hmm.
So the trees are ancestors, literally. And I think Bidruhi is in some ways the community leader now. We have we have Sriyan Kethris as the figurehead, but Sriyan Kethris is also not a real person as such. Bidruhi is kind of the leader, but Bidruhi is also a young man. I think he's probably this is his 20th birthday now, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's very young, so I think it would fall to it could fall to Alcadar, but I think it's much better if it's a PC. I think it will fall to Mushfiq as the most senior Kethrisi person present here to begin this song. So Aadiyat, I would invite you as Mushfiq to begin the song, and I think if you would, I think you should say a line, and we should all say it back, and then go down. That'd be nice.
All right.
Including Prince.
Let's scroll down to poetry.
Podcast poetry.
Okay.
Yes. Just going there.
All right.
So, the first stanza is me, and then
No, you say each line, then we say it in unison. We repeat after you.
all right.
Okay. So
Mushfiq
call. Okay.
All right, Mushfiq, and my awkwardness is diegetic, as Mushfiq also just goes up. He puts his plate of food down and just goes. Yes. Year by year, I am here.
Year by year, I am here.
I am here.
My belly full.
My belly full.
My belly full.
My belly full. Oh, this is hard to do.
It's hard to,
We'll get into it. It's okay.
Yeah.
My arms are strong.
My arms
My
are
arms
strong.
are strong.
Here where my ancestors are.
Here where my
Here where my
ancestors are.
ancestors are.
Year by year, I am here.
Year
Year
by
by
year,
By year, I am here.
My roots are tall.
My
My
roots are
roots are
tall.
In a rising tide,
in
In
a
a
rising
rising
tide.
tide.
my fruits make the next year.
My
My
fruits
fruits
make the
make the
next
next
year.
year.
Year by year, I am here.
Year by
Year
year,
by
I
year,
am here.
I am
I
here.
am here.
I have dined well
I have dined well
on the seed of the past.
On the seed of the past.
Seed of the past.
Kethris lives another year.
Kethris lives another
lives another
year.
year.
Year by year, I am here.
Year by
Year
year,
by
I
year,
am here.
I am
I
here.
am here.
Yeah. My arms are strong.
My arms are strong.
I will hold the fruit
I will
I
hold the fruit
Hold the fruit.
for my brother's child.
For my
for my
brother's
brother's
child.
child.
Year by year, I am here.
Year
by
by year,
year,
I am here.
I am
I
here.
am here.
Eat my fruit.
Eat
Eat my
Eat
fruit.
my fruit.
Grow tall roots.
Grow tall
Grow
roots.
tall roots.
There will be another year.
There will be another year.
Here I am with you next year.
Here I
Here I
am
Here
am.
I am.
with you
With you
next
next
year.
year. Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, gets down and he wipes his forehead a bit and goes, "Whew."
That's probably like
Yeah.
Mushfiq's
Lovely.
first
Yeah.
turn as like the elder, right? That's the
Mhm.
community elder in the situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I think like all our friends are here, like Jekyll and so on. Mumtaz, if she would come and so on. So I think they're here. I don't necessarily know if we want to focus in on these scenes. I'm going to ask Prince. But
No, I think
okay.
I think people are here. I
Yeah.
don't have much to add for the NPCs, but there's Alcadar, there's Jackal, there's friends and allies. There's a lot of people who are not Ketrisi, obviously, who are present. Munna is probably here somewhere.
Oh man. Yeah,
But-
sure. Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but we don't necessarily need to focus on them because we have so many NPCs. It would just take forever to go through them. But
No.
we see them in the background.
One question before I move on: Are the Cholmondelese here? Like, are they in the city? Like, did they come?
That's
Because
an
last
interesting
session.
question. I get the feeling they wouldn't be. Not because they wouldn't want to be, but I think the Cholmondelese do not enter the city lightly
Okay.
at all. Maybe they have sent a representative at most, but I don't think their leader would actually be here.
Cool.
Hmm?
Then I think after some food has been eaten, after we're doing our best with the mushrooms. We're like fried mushrooms, mushrooms in wine sauce, mushrooms in cream sauce, mushroom souffle, etc., etc. Right? I think
Did
like
you just
near
say mushroom souffle?
yeah.
Is that a thing? Does that exist?
I don't know. I'm just saying words.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, maybe
Are there cows in the setting? How are we getting cream?
that's not.
Don't ask questions to which you don't want answers.
Goat.
Mm.
Goats.
Yes, goat.
Oh, lovely.
Goat cream. So we're having
God.
we're nearing the final courses. I mean, I don't know. Would we say that they're courses or it's just a bunch of stuff on the table? I mean, that's more South Asian.
Yeah, I think there's stuff.
I think there's just a bunch of stuff on the table.
Yeah, but I think there is like a dessert is probably served separately. That is also traditional, at least in my house. So I think like we're putting stuff away, and I think like dessert is coming in, and I think there's a little bit of a lull, and I think Bidrohi stands up and says, "This is our last year together, all as a community here in Uduasha. Tomorrow, we start getting ready to return to the homeland, where the fires of revolution already are burning. And after that, well, we have heard the song. We will either be in Kethris, thriving and living and adding to the harvests, or we shall be in Kethris, return to our ancestors and being amongst the trees. Either way, we shall all be there in the lands that we are from and the lands that where we belong, in whatever form awaits us next year. And I am honored to say that it is not just us who are Ketrasi who will join us there, but we have new friends and new family who have thrown in their lot with us. And amongst these people, the person that I am most honored and most gratified to see present is our friend, our companion and ally from Sunfall, Golden Knight Clementine, who has been making a considerable and valiant effort, bit of an uphill battle, but you'll get there, speaking the Ketrisi language, which is not easy. We applaud this. Since you are learning the language, sibling, I think you will appreciate this all the more. And I think I want to flash back really briefly to a conversation with Mushfiq and Sri and Kethris
Mhm.
to give Clem Kethris a name.
Interesting.
Hmm.
You mean in the tradition of like Moonlit and Moss?
Kethris a name, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But they should have one.
Should they? I mean, what's wrong with Clem?
There's nothing wrong with Clem. It doesn't have to replace the name. I think names are important. And we have had
No.
names as a theme throughout. Yeah, this is me saying your
Wait,
name
is it-
sucks. Change
Oh.
it into this. This is something else you can wear if you want.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, that's fine.
Hmm.
I think one way to do it would be to follow the path that we did for the Prince of Endings, which is that we each give a name.
Oh, we could, or Manuel could just add on Al-Khatam at the end.
But that's just adding on Khatam at the end.
I think actually saying Clementine Ankhatam is poignant not just because it would be giving her a name, but also because Clementine doesn't really belong to where he came from before, right? Like not anymore. So
Yeah.
kind of symbolically saying you belong to us now seems like something they might appreciate.
So is the consensus to just go Clementine Khatam?
I think so.
I
The
think-
other
yeah.
reason, no, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say that the other reason that I'm kind of hesitant about a Kethrisi name as such is that there's no reason Clementine can't be a Kethrisi name. You know, the way to make Clementine a Kethrisi name is to make Clementine Kethrisi, which you know we can do by saying they are Clementine Ankhatam.
Yeah, because I suggested this, I don't want to impose my own ideas. Of course, I had different ideas, but I'm happy to go along with what the two of you want and suggest.
Yeah, I mean, like brief aside, I guess, in that we do often think of more westernized names as not being South Asian. But the fact is that there have been Jewish and Christian people in India for a very long time, right?
For
And
sure.
they're called David, Clementine, Paul, whatever, right? And so in terms of like even it being Kethrisi, I don't know what that what a different name would look like unless it's just Clementine, but the second E is an A instead, which would, to be honest, be quite funny.
I'm largely approaching this from my cultural tradition, which is that people just have different names that have nothing to do with their other given name.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily
I
an
guess-
upgrade or any
No,
commentary
yeah,
on their other
absolutely.
name.
Yeah.
But Clementine and Khatam sounds perfectly good to me.
Yeah. And it makes Clementine one of us. I'm not even sure Sri is one of us in the way that Clementine's about to be, right? Because Sri is about to belong to all of Kethris.
That's fair. All right. I think this is probably like a summation of the conversation that we all had, the three of us.
Makes sense.
Okay. Then I think Bidruhi just then says, we would like to welcome you into the family as a member of the Ankhatam family and add your name to our roster of names alongside Mushfiq and Bidruhi and Moss on the rung that breaks your ankle. His voice kind of like hesitates a little bit as he, refers to the person who's not here. We would like to add Golden Eyed Clementine to this list and make you one of us. And he kind of waits to see if this is accepted or not, though he automatically assumes that it would be.
Clem does incline their head. I would be honoured.
Very good. For a second there, I was worried. Excellent. And this inducting you into the family is not a commentary on whatever's going on between you and Mushrik Bhai.
I need to know how Clementine responds to this.
Yeah, that's why I'm not saying anything.
This isn't me pushing on that direction. This is a different thing.
I think Clem pointedly does not respond. They have learned it is better not to. If you respond, you legitimize.
I see. And then I think we continue eating. I think that went about as well as could have been expected. Very good. All right. I think that's the Harvest Day scene that I had in mind.
Nice.
Lovely. Yeah, I think that is our last real scene. And let's talk about what happens to our characters. And maybe a little bit what happens to Kethris. Maybe indeed we will start with Clem, having now been introduced to the... If you don't feel up to it, Salty, you can say, but I'm nominating you to begin an epilogue for Clem, which will probably also involve Mushfik. So, feel free to brainstorm together. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Wonderful. I will give Salty the speaking stick first, but
The speaking shell, the Lords of the Rising. I think that... Shall we focus on the relationship between the two of them first? I think it's probably the most serious relationship Clementine has and will have. And as in those hours before Clem leaves Udawasha, they leave their shield as well. They have a runner bring it to Tamira's waters. They don't deliver it themselves when they leave. They carry just the spear now, not the remnant from their life before.
Oh.
Nice.
And I think when they leave out of the gate, it is by Mushfik's side. And I think they look to him now. Where do you want me?
Sorry, Salty, you're very quiet. Can you say that again?
Yeah, where does Mushfik want Clem?
So we're leaving. We're leaving Udawasha. Okay, what I caught was we're leaving Udawasha. Salty is sorry, not Salty. Clem has sent their shield to Tamira's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are we all? Well, what's the scene? We're all just marching out, orderly lines, or are we leaving in bits and pieces, in small groups to not?
That's a good question, but I'm imagining this being a caravan because I think it was established that Cholmondelese will lead you.
Yeah.
Or escort you. So I think it's at least the PCs are traveling alongside with them.
I think in that case, I think it all makes sense that Shrika and Clem are, side by side, holding hands, that kind of thing. And I think maybe they don't say much to each other, right? And normally I don't think they do. But after a while, Mushrik says something like, he says something like, well, I told you we'd win, and we did. But I don't really think about what happens after we do. It's strange having a future to think about.
trust you to think about mine as well.
Sorry?
And I think Clem turns. Can I trust you to think about mine?
Oh.
I don't think I can anymore.
Yeah, Mushrik has a bit of a like a gentle smile, and he goes, "Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what I meant. Like, it's like for the longest time, it's just been about doing the next immediate thing, or or just trying to stay alive and having to plan something. It's all new, but and then I think he sort of trails off, and then I think he's mulling things over, and he goes, like he says, like I am glad that you're coming with us. There's like it's a beautiful place where we're going. I'd like to show you, and I'd like to show you where I'm from.
And I think throughout this journey, I suppose, Clem, each time they stop in the desert, asks Mushfig to tell them a new tale about Kethris before Mushfig was fighting for it. And actually, Prince, I want to ask you something.
Yes?
Can my character die of natural causes?
Like, is it possible?
Oh!
Yeah.
Is it possible anymore? My instinct says yes. I still
But
think
even
it
if
is
the
possible.
answer is no, you know somebody who can help you.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, this is why I'm thinking yes, right? Prince of Endings. Like, I think if there's one thing that our characters are able to do, it is end, despite everything.
Mm.
Because there is a lot of despite everything. There absolutely is. You have been supernaturally messed with to an extreme amount. But, Prince of Endings. So I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, and I think it is peaceful, their end.
Right.
I don't
so,
know if it's before or after Mushfig, but it's peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. The epilogue is hearing these tales in the desert and then in some future, a peaceful end. Yeah.
To be with the ancestor trees.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Because-
that is actually quite beautiful. Maybe it is Mushfik's tree. Maybe it is somehow still alive after everything that's been burned down.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that happens. Yeah, we can leave it ambiguous if you prefer, Salty, but...
I think the thing about the ancestor trees is that if you're near them, then you don't have a choice in the matter.
No.
You just get added to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, like you should be able to like tell which one. Like I don't think you would forget, or I mean, even if you forget where the location is, if you're ever nearby, you know that one's yours, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we've established that there's a lot of grafting whenever there's marriages and intermarriages and so on. So like even if the one that you would consider your tree is gone, your tree is still out there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Now I'm butting into your epilogues here, and it's absolutely your epilogue, so I don't want to say what happens. But I can see throughout the entire campaign, we have seen Bidruhi and Usra tend to this bonsai, this sapling, right? I can see Mushfik taking over that, like finding a remnant of the tree from his childhood, and then slowly raising it over the course of the rest of his life back to a tree.
Yeah.
Like settle down for gardening and restore. Maybe just a single sapling of it remains, but you raise it you grow back the tree that was lost.
The
I think that
best
could
way
be quite
to
beautiful.
tend to an ancestor tree is to become one with it.
Hmm.
Is to die.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
takes time. So
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's the final thing.
yeah.
Whether Clem joins in that or not is, I don't know. This is just me commentating on things.
Mhm.
I don't have the cannon. I'm not in charge.
When Gotham is ashes, then you have
Huh?
my permission to die.
Yeah?
Sorry, I just like when you. I've been thinking it since you asked the question. I was just like, oh my god.
Oh dear.
I'm so sorry for interrupting what was otherwise a very poignant moment. I apologize. Well, such is life.
Is that something Bane said, or is that a Ras Al Ghul thing?
It's something
it's
Bane
Bane.
said. And
Yeah.
I really like, enjoy Tree's attempt at the Bane voice.
Yeah, I cannot do the Bane voice.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. What matters is the
I'm
Tom
Hardy.
Yeah, the way to do the Bane voice is to not to do a real voice at all. Just go.
Aadiyat, that's
you're
your
right.
next character.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll have
Anyway.
like 0 skills in it, like 0 points in any skill that involves like communicating with people.
No. Have charisma +2 or whatever the game is,
Yeah.
the equivalent is, I think that's even funnier. Anyway. Anyway. What are we doing?
Epilogue.
Revolutions,
Revolution.
yes.
Some
And people
revolution.
dying. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what happened in the last movie with Bane.
Yes.
Anyway,
Exactly.
Yeah.
yes, I think
Yes.
this is like maybe nothing more needs to be added to this. Like I think in a way it's quite beautiful that Mushfiq and Clem's epilogues do not focus on the fighting. It's like fighting happens,
Yeah.
but at this point we've also established that like Mushfiq and Clem, when they fight, there's nothing really interesting there. The interesting thing is raising a tree, growing old, and dying. That's the hard part,
Yeah.
Mm.
Like I've said this jokingly a few times, but whenever Mushfiq and Clem are doing something together, the roles, I mean, the roles have been so generous, and I think and maybe also the skills complement each other. Like the fights have been very, very easy.
Hard
The
part
two that I
is
remember,
finding where to eat afterwards.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Hassan Greenbuster. Easy answer.
like
Well, he's in Uduasha, so or maybe he's Kethrisi. Who knows?
Who knows?
Anyway,
Taking him with them. Anyway.
I think that if you guys are happy with that as an epilogue, then I'm definitely happy with it. I think that's a beautiful way to conclude Mushfiq and Clem. That, like you said, like the revolution happens, but nothing really interesting happens. They, as you said, the challenge for them is growing old. It's not. It's not surviving. Yeah.
Yeah, then that's the. I think so, right? Like, I mean, I think for Mushfiq it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes sense for Clem as well. Like, they've grown up in violence. Like, it's about trying to make something else of their lives, right? And I think that's what Mushfiq was saying as well. Like at the start of the epilogue, that it's weird to plan for a future and then live a normal life.
Yeah. Absolutely. In that case, I want to ask about Bidrohi's epilogue.
Bidrohi's epilogue is that he leads a powerful revolution and becomes president for life, etc. Anyway,
Oh, that's great. Let's move on. We just won.
I mean, I don't know, because of course, like, we're going to Kethris, and there's a big question mark over that. I don't know if it's. I mean, epilogue is a great moment to say that goes well or not, but this is something that I would like to ask everyone. Like, do we just want to say that it was a successful revolution?
I think so. I think, like I said, I think the fighting now is a foregone conclusion, and the interesting part, anyway, is not really the revolution, but the aftermath, right? I think it's the same thing for Kethris as it is for our characters. The fight happens, and Kethris frees itself and becomes an independent nation, and here is where the work really starts, right? As Venkatesh spoke of, as other people have spoken of, this is where the work of, like, building roads, having institutions, having a government, which Kethris didn't even, like, the Sublime Republic didn't even really have much of a government outside of landowners collaborating. So
A couple of coups and counter coups and all that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
I imagine that the future for Kethris is messy, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the
Like we have Omid as part of this future, right? Like he's definitely going to like
Yeah.
declare a military dictatorship the first chance he gets.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I think
So
I think that is the interesting part. The interesting part is not the first revolutionary war, which I think is a foregone conclusion. Like Kethris will throw off the yoke of Uduasha. That will just happen. But
I think
what
then
happens next? Yeah.
the interesting question then is, like, here's an opportunity for like the fantasy of the charismatic leader. You know, the guy. You know, what if Gandhi wasn't assassinated, right?
Mhm.
And of course, like, we're also from a country where, other than I are from a country where there was that charismatic leader, and he was a piece of shit in the end.
We should cut this out probably off the podcast, but I'm really glad Gandhi died because otherwise he would have insisted that alcohol be banned across the country and that nobody have sex before marriage and probably not after either.
Yeah, I'm not saying that things would have been good if Gandhi would survive, but like if of that charismatic man, you were saying?
I was saying that it's entirely possible that if Gandhi had survived the first assassination attempt, is that he would have become exactly what our charismatic guy became, a kind of, cult of personality, and then been killed anyway.
Yeah. So those are the things that happens in reality, right, after revolutions. And there is a temptation here in this moment to say like, but not to my guy. My guy is a cool guy. Because that is what Bidrohi is, right? He's kind of like in many ways sort of a fantasy of like, he's flawed, obviously, but he's a fantasy of someone who's fundamentally good-hearted and can get it done, whatever it is, right? And of course, then we can say, like, the fates of nations shouldn't be up to individual human beings. Well, we're playing a role-playing game. We're exerting agency all the time, anyways. That'd be kind of hypocritical. So I think for me, what's interesting is that the initial thing that Bidrohi had said that he's going to go to Kethris and then he's going to start the revolution. He's going to kind of like get some structure together with like the people that he trusts and likes and like thinks are like good people, and then he's going to come back home because he's not going to be a Caesar, and at the end of the day, he's a Nuduasha guy. He was born in Kethris, but like that's not his place, he doesn't really understand the place. But I think what ends up happening is that he gets there and like he has a conscience and he has a sense of responsibility. You don't just start a revolution and then go, okay, bye. Here, Omid, you know what you're doing. Here's the presidency. Good night.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's not just going to be him, obviously. Whatever happens to Mushfiq is probably going to be there. We'll find out what about Suriyan Kethris. But Al-Qadir is going to be there. And like, all jokes and memes aside, like there are people who no one's competent at this, right? No one knows how to run Kethris. The people who are running Kethris don't know how to run Kethris. So we are going to learn on the job. And I think there's going to be ups and downs and challenges, but I think the sense of responsibility, like, and like the being part of a shared project with these people he respects, pushes Bidrohi on and on to stay. And I think like probably what happens is that the old farm is kind of returned to, or the land is kind of returned to, and we kind of like build a home. Moonlit probably lives there. Usra grows up, and Bidrohi starts getting older and older. And I think like we arrive at a point that could be quite sad. I think we see this moment where probably Bidrohi is like in his 40s, where like he goes to some parliament meeting or like whatever the equivalent of that would be, whatever we call it. He goes to it and like he expects to be heard and be influential because, he's Bidrohi, right? And then I think there's this moment where he realizes that the politics of Kethris have moved past him. And like he's just another guy. He's a living legend, but like it doesn't matter anymore. And like he's still like in his 40s. He's still very young. He's not like Qazi Nazrul Islam, the guy who wrote Bidrohi, he lived to see Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Which is something that I find really interesting because I have no idea what his reactions to any of that were.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was there. He saw it. And so many of these other legends from Bengali nationalism, they saw Bangladesh, but what their actual reactions or roles within that's just past it. Like at that point they were irrelevant, despite being cultural icons. I think Bidri sees that in a much more truncated, compressed timeline.
How old was Qazi Nazrul Islam at the time? Must have been very old.
Yeah. I think he died shortly after independence, maybe a couple of years afterwards.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think what Bidri does in that moment is he goes to see his mom. And Prince, I think I'll ask you. He has this moment where he can stay in this homestead, which at this point, let's be real, it's not a homestead anymore. It's an estate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think presumably with better working conditions for people and tenants, because let's be real, he has tenant farmers, right? Let's not valorize him too much. But he goes to this homestead, this estate. Uzra's probably got her own family, and I don't think Bidre really got married despite the marriage offer from Preeti Chandra Vidya.
Yeah.
I don't think I won't. Let's not. There's probably a story there that we aren't exploring, right?
Sure.
So I think he doesn't have family here, and he's got this house. Obviously, Mumtaz is long gone, and there's and the Uduasha he left behind. That's not a place for him either.
Yeah.
So I think there's a question for him now of what to do, where to go. Moonlit's probably at this point in her 70s.
Yeah.
What would Moonlit say?
Oh, that is a very good question. You know what? I lean towards what Moonlit would say is, yeah, I'm going to go with this. I think she would say, it's time you go on the road like your sister did. You never did it. Moss, when you were young, was sent to travel. You're still young enough to do that. It's time for you to actually see Ketris. Because I imagine in the time that you have been back, as you said, you've been in parliament, you have been in the capital, you've been in Ketris city, but you have never done that journey that Moss did, across the various villages, walking from place to place, actually seeing the country that you were born in.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I think maybe that is her advice, like a pilgrimage.
Mm-hmm. I think what Bidre then does is that he gets Bolt Murad and Pilot, and any of the Badmaishes who are still alive and still friends with him. I imagine a bunch of these people that we fought with are now established politicians, or maybe even running opposition parties and so on, right?
Yeah.
I think he gets a few of these people who have nothing particular going on in their lives, and they go on this big road trip. That's not just slumming it, but I think they go from village to village, and they listen to the people. They listen to the people, and then I think they put it into writing. And from these, a new sort of a new kind of national epic starts emerging of kind of somewhere between travelogue and epic poem of what happened to the people of Kethris all this time while they were being subjugated. What happened in the war? What has happened since? How have we failed you? What can we do better? What are the things that people don't know about you? What are your joys and hurts? And I think this is Bidre's final legacy.
Yeah.
I think this is he's at it until he dies.
Yeah, I like that. I also want to say that I think on this journey is when you are reunited with Moss, almost coincidentally. But she was watching over a village, Rocca.
Yeah.
And obviously you pass through that at one point and meet her again. And it's almost coincidental. It's been so long since you spoke because you've been doing your own thing.
Surely,
and what happens with that meeting we can leave unsaid, but
Yeah, I mean, surely we've met before, but I think like this is the moment where that's meeting on a very different sort of like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
setup, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
I like that.
Hmm.
Tree, then.
Good eye.
What's
I
what's
will.
God up to?
Yeah, I will give you. Leave here to Epilogues to Jan Ketris. To Epilogue,
Mhm.
perhaps more poignantly, what happens to Saida's legacy, and of
Yeah.
course, the Prince of Endings. Take it away.
So I think that as Mushfiq, Clementine, Vidrohi, and Moss live their lives, occasionally they will see Sri and Catharis. They may even speak to each other. And as time goes on, it becomes more and more clear that it is something that Sri is doing because of some kind of inner feeling of like responsibility, but it's not necessarily something that Sri even understands. But the machinations of demon princes are strange and wondrous, and so the cult of the Prince of Endings spreads probably throughout the Shattered Isles. Not necessarily for the good of everybody involved, not least because the Prince of Endings appears to be a death god. Certainly, as the prince told the rest of his siblings, somebody needs to take on this fucking emperor. Probably some joining up of that revolution does happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at some point, Saida's body is. It's not exactly that it's become too old because it's not exactly aging, but it is ended because that is what should happen to it. And when that occurs, that is really when the last vestiges of like humanity kind of leave the Prince of Endings. That is when, well, we made a demon prince, lads. What happens next? You know.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe a memory of humanity still remains, but certainly the physical material reality of it is no longer there, right?
Yeah. And Saida's work, I guess, is finally complete. Saida has now made a deity fully
Yeah,
and completely. Yeah.
yeah. And I think Saida's legacy is probably much more day to day because the Rising Moon School still exists, and they were an Ustad of the Rising Moon School, right? And they were like they didn't win, but they fought against J. Clev and Diamond Tooth, right? So probably on the one hand, you know, they are memorialized in the histories and stuff, but maybe more importantly, the sash fighting tradition of the Rising Moon School is named after her because
Mm.
that is what she did. It's not like one of the weird big ontological things. It's not like, I mean, did she even make a deity? The deity was working through her all along, right? The Prince of Endings is kind of the state religion of Kethris, so let us not necessarily speak blasphemy, right? But nobody can deny that Saida was also a sash fighter. Was a what was when they were at the top of their game, able to hold their own against the best, right?
Mm.
Which is still saying
Yeah.
something. And as for the people who knew Saida, whether it is Salman, who became one of the Prince of Endings, and so therefore, can
Yeah.
the prince ever really stop being human? Whether it is Shahryar and Kayat, or whether it is everyone in the community of Ankatam, like their memories of Saidas are their own, right? And I think those memories and the things that prompt them to do things in Saida's memory are more up to them than to me.
Yeah.
But perhaps we might imagine that wherever Saida has gone to, if they had not gone there, they would not have been disappointed by how it turned out.
When Saida's body dies, does Saida return to a tree?
No.
Or is it gone?
It's like me saying it's gone somewhere is it's like me trying to hedge myself, but the truth is that she was well and truly ended. There is no trace of her. You
Yeah.
cannot summon with her name and conjure her ghost. Nothing, right? Like,
Yeah. I figured Saida ended before it began, as the prophecy said.
exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think that's poignant also because, like, once you are subsumed into the trees, like, you aren't a ghost, like, you're gone.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
a new thing there that is a tree and not something that can have a conversation with you. Not really, unless you figure out some way to do it.
Yeah.
But Sri and Kethris obviously is someone that you could have spoken to, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sort of like thematic cycle.
All right.
Absolutely. And like, you never know whether like precisely in this way, you know, she had a divine vision of some kind, or she decided by sheer force of will to have a divine vision, and she's never going to tell you which one it was, and you'll never know.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right.
Great.
Are we happy with epilogues? I have one scene I want to close us out on, the very last scene of the campaign, so speak now if you have anything to add before it.
I have one thing, which is definitely that the sword school that Priti Chandra starts and the Rising Moon School have incredible beef with each other because they both claim to be the one true sword school of Kethris.
Yeah.
And they both are like, you're a pretender. And so there's loads of really cool sword fights between them, and probably also lots of like dying. But yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. What becomes of Al-Qadr?
That is precisely what I'm answering with my last scene.
All right.
So.
Then I'm thinking of anything else that I want to explore before that. You know, we never saw Captain Peregrine at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was there in the final score, but like there wasn't a conversation. I assumed that it would have happened in like this session, but then of course we took a different turn. But like,
what
of
Captain Peregrine? I think the true answer here is that this guy who's been with you, who's been watching you, I mean, he works for the Demon Princess. You beat back justice and you persuaded it, and so I think Captain Peregrine we just quietly withdraw, like he has done his job. But I also think that he's wily enough, right, that he will keep an eye towards Kethris and probably kept up correspondence with Bidruhi. Just you know, it's a useful connection to have, right? If any awful criminal should escape from Uduasha to Kethris, he can put in a letter and be like, yo, we have like a serial killer on the run, you know. Could you pull some strings in Kethris and have them catch him? Things like that.
Yeah, and that probably went on for like. Peregrine. Yeah, I assume that he retired long before Bidruhi retired.
Yeah, probably. But it went on while Bidruhi was in Parliament.
You know, I think that might have been the incited incident where, like, there's something Peregrine wanted him to do, and like it seemed like legit and good. And Bidruhi went into Parliament saying we should do this, and everyone was like, "Wow, Uduasha stooge much?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "But I'm Bidruhi," and they're like, "Fuck off, old man."
Yeah.
Okay, we'll fuck off. Yep.
All right.
Now let's talk about a successful politician.
Yes. I'll just end on a final scene because I think it ties the campaign together nicely. So we see Kethris City with its bustling streets. It's grown a lot bigger, probably a lot denser. I imagine that Kethris used to be quite distributed, but
Mhm.
over the course of the war and things, things have changed extremely quickly. So there's buildings still under construction. There's buildings that have been reappropriated. It's very chaotic. There are like these bustling streets, people from every strata of society mingling with each other. And we see a man stride confidently through all of this chaos, on foot, wearing a magnificent vest. And he pats
Lovely.
it a little bit nervously. Al-Qadr Ankatam making his way through Kethris, his home city, as much as it has changed, as different as it is, looking around a little nervously. He steps through this towards a building. It's an old building, but it's been repurposed, as so many others. It is in the process of being rebuilt. There's scaffolding outside. It's probably like a very old like mansion that belonged to one of the big landowner families that sold out. And he steps inside. He looks around like furtively, and there's almost a conspiratorial air to him as the city is in turmoil and chaos. And he steps into a room, and I don't think any of the player characters are there. I think these are not people we have ever seen. They're important people from across Kethris. They are the new guard, so to speak, the people you have enabled to make changes in the future, right? And Al-Qadr pats his vest once more, and he looks around, and he says, "Brothers, it's finished. I have kept it with me. I have had the revisions. I have made sure it has not been taken." And he reaches inside his vest and he pulls out a thick document, and he says, "I am finished with our constitution."
Yes. Very good.
Mm,
Yeah.
very nice.
Muy bien.
What is a they're like, what is a constitution?
Yes. But I
Something
think
his
that's
brother wrote about.
It is
Yeah.
a document that shall constitute us, but we already
Yes.
exist,
uh
etc., etc.
Yes, but I think that is
Yes,
a nice
of
place to
course.
cap it off. Nice bit of
Of course.
bookends.
Of
Uh,
course.
The season ends with Al-Qadr bringing an important document just as it began.
Lovely.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Very nice.
there we are.
Great.
There we are. Oh my god, the House of Endings ended.
Yes. Who could have foreseen this?
Mm.
Oh my god! Who
We
could have
did it.
foreseen-
Yeah. It's been over a year.
Yeah,
Wow.
it has. Well done, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Congrats.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have all
Fantastic.
grown. We have all changed. Emma turned into salty.
Yes.
That's the biggest
Downgrade.
change of all.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
If I understand correctly, it
yeah,
has
it's a
to be level
downgrade.
34.
It's a downgrade because Emma's so much taller than you.
Oh, I see.
Is Emma the
I was
tallest among
making a
us?
Pokemon joke, but okay.
Yes.
Devolution.
Yes,
no,
Emma is,
no,
Emma,
Digimon
Emma is very,
joke.
Emma is
Digimon
easily
can
the tallest
devolve,
amongst us.
right?
Mhm,
Ah.
mhm.
I wasn't a Digimon kid.
I was a
Mhm.
Digimon kid. I didn't understand
Digimon
that
can
show.
de-evolve, right?
Mm.
You could tell me
Pokemon
anything about.
evolved, which you well know. Why would you attack me like this?
You can tell me anything about Digimon and be like, yeah, that checks out.
Yes. Anyway,
Mm.
before we start talking about other stuff, then that is
Yes.
the campaign. That
Mm.
is where the campaign ends. And so thank you everyone for playing with me. Thank you Klow, Salty, Tree, Aadiyat, and thank you Emma. It's been a long time, but still this campaign owes a lot to you. And yeah, thank you everyone who's been playing, and thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this really long campaign. We hope you enjoyed being here with us for this actual play of us actually playing Blades in the Dark. And we don't know what our next season will be quite yet, but we are not playing Blades in the Dark for the next season. We are playing something else. So get excited for that. We will be switching it up a little bit. Can't say how much or what else we'll be switching it up, but we shall be trying out a different game. It's going to be the same lovely people. It's going to be the same lovely themes of collaborative world building and characters with their identities in peril. I don't think we can play in any other way, but characters with their identities in peril. And we look forward to seeing you for Season 3 of Desperate Attune, where we go elsewhere. And we hope you enjoy the Uduasha book, Sun Mirror. It's out. You can get it. You can read it. You can play your own campaign in Uduasha. And yeah, if you want to do that, I think that would be the greatest way for this to continue. Tell your own Uduasha stories, please. And if you want to support us, get the book. And support us on Patreon. And stay desperate attuned.
In addition, I would like to thank God and my family.
Yes. And we will see you in Season 3. Goodbye.
6
Here
seasons in a
close the
movie.
doors. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, go on.
That's what that sounds like. That's me closing the doors.
Hmm.
Good.
Hmm.
Yes.
Here
Here close the doors to the House of
Hmm.
Endings.
Goodbye, listener.
Goodbye. Here close the doors to the House of Endings. Those who dwell within are Zoheb, called Klow, Aadiyat, called Soap, Saumitri, called Tree, and Salty. I have been Prince, your host. Our city of Uduasha is based on Blades in the Dark by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions, with special thanks to Johnstone Metzger. Follow us on Twitter or support us on kofi.com/desperateattune. If you want to engage further with us, we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/desperateattune, where you will get our newsletter, extra content, and updates from Uduasha.